Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, the 23rd of September, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is News to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Later on today, the population will find out from the Finance Minister, Colin Imber, about the new deadline for the payment of property tax. September 30th this year was the original date for the tax to be paid. However, last week, Friday, in Parliament, the Parliament was told by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley the government had considered and approved an extension to the deadline date for payment of the property tax and additional payment options. The opposition UNC wanted to know, given the chaos and long lines which had been observed and experienced by citizens outside offices of the Board of Inland Revenue, whether government had considered and approved an extension to citizens for the paying of the tax. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cameras for police officers. In recent weeks, Director of the Police Complaints Authority, PCA, David West, indicated the PCA has never received any body cam footage in relation to police-involved deaths. There have been 41 fatal police shootings already recorded this year alone, and resistance by officers to wearing the body cams. At this time, 1,120 officers have been provided with body cams to wear on the job, and they have not been fully used as required. In April, Commissioner of Police Early Herwood Christopher gave a directive to officers who had been issued such devices to wear them. Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited has been awarded a $25 million contract for the purchase of 3,000 body cams for police officers. Diamond Systems and Supplies is a Laramine-based company and is partnered with Huawei to bring the body cams from China. The 3,000 EC310 Smart 4K body cams come at a cost of $24,965,310. 1,000 of these body cams are ready to be shipped, while another 1,000 are being manufactured, with the final 1,000 expected to be sent to this country before the end of the year. A Freedom of Information request has been sent to Attorney General Reginald Amor LC in relation to reports by former Justice Stanley John into a missing file related to a malicious prosecution case involving 9 men who were charged for the kidnapping and murder of businesswoman Vindra Paul Coolman in 2007. The request sent by Attorney at Law Ganesh Sarup, representing the 9 men charged with the kidnapping and murder of the businesswoman. Sarup is representing Siobhan Peters, Devon Peters, Anthony Gloucester, Joel Fraser, Ronald Armstrong, Hida Garcia, Jamil Garcia, and Marlon Trimington, and Antonia Charles. Sarup contended his clients waited for more than a year for the AG to analyze the report and disclose it to them so they could make the necessary representations in court. The AG did not comply because he was forced to file the FY regarding contents of the report. Against this backdrop, the FY was filed. The request seeks a copy of the Stanley John report into the missing file to be provided to Sarup on behalf of his clients. Yet another murder in Tobago, as 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell became the 24th person to be murdered on the island this year. This was the second murder in the village of Argyle in less than 48 hours. Police reports stated around 2 a.m. yesterday, Anne-Marie Mitchell was at home when she heard gunshots rung out. Her son Nicholas, a 32-year-old laborer, yelled out. He'd been shot several times and died minutes later. The Roxbury police station was contacted, and first responders visited the scene and found him dead. His mother, Anne-Marie Mitchell, said she warned her son Nicholas about liming on the block and was not surprised to hear he was killed. Investigations are continuing into the murder. Meantime, the Tobago Business Chamber is calling for a further shakeup of the police on the island. It comes from President of the Chamber, Martin George. On Sunday, George told the media, replacing ACP Collis Hazel and Senior Superintendent Roderick Hale Kirk, and ACP Oswin Suber and Senior Superintendent Earl Eli 2 weeks ago was the first step in the right direction. He made the remarks while speaking at the Citizen Summit on Crime and Violence at the TML Hall in St. Joseph. He, however, claimed more officers needed to be shuffled as they become too complacent. 2 men, including a 19-year-old member of the Trinidad Tobago Coast Guard from Diego Martin and a 22-year-old Belmont person, are to be charged with the murder of Diego Ropa of Maraval on the 12th of September. This comes after investigators received advice from Acting Director of Public Prosecution, Sabrina Jugdeen Jagda, on Friday. Police said in a media release issued yesterday. police report said around 9:30 p.m. on September 8th, Rupert was on the road in front of his home when he was heard shouting, "No, boy, no," which was followed by a series of loud explosions. The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard said it is aware that one of its officers are currently in the custody of the TT Police Service and assisting with ongoing investigations. The suspect was arrested on September 15th and 16th and are expected to appear in the High Court later this morning. There are now 18 lab-confirmed dengue deaths locally. The Health Ministry provided information in the latest dengue update. It confirms 1,416 lab-confirmed cases of dengue. In news of the region, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness tells world leaders his country stands ready to deliver on his obligation to protect the interests of future generations. He said Jamaica has already laid the foundation to achieve that goal, even as the country, like many other developing states, faces a number of challenges, among them climate change and economic stability. Holness was addressing the UN Summit of the Future held at UN headquarters in New York over the weekend. And finally, former U.S. President Donald Trump says he does not expect to run for the election again in 2028 if he's defeated in this November presidential poll. Trump, 78, has been the Republican candidate on 3 national elections in a row. In an interview with Sinclair Media Group, he was asked if he would foresee another run in the event he loses to Kamala Harris. He says, "I don't think so. That will be it." And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have more news coming up at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, how you doing on this Monday? Yep, Monday, the 23rd of September. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show. Full casting this morning. You just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell Puran in a minute. And of course, we'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Shane and Ruben in the mix. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. 26 degrees at Piarco International Airport. 27 in our beautiful sister Isle of Tobago. Yep. And of course, let's see if the Met Office has updated their weather forecast for today. They have. They said it's going to be fair to partly cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers and low to medium 30 to 60% chance of heavier shower or thunderstorm occurring in a few localities. Quite comprehensive, I will tell you. All right, and traffic-wise, usual Couva to Sugarguanas and volume from Charlieville towards your interchange, and extension headed Port of Spain by Trin City. Yep, there's some congestion there. All right, so that's quick weather and traffic. So good morning to you, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's Ted Mondy's birthday. Happy birthday, Ted. And it's also Shamian Lewing Gomes, Stella Wint, Wendy, Greg Williams, and Brizan Frederick. Shane Lovera. Shane lives abroad. And yesterday was the birthday. Not yesterday. Was it Saturday? The birthday of Lauren Lezama Leasing. Happy birthday, Lauren.
Oh, okay. Yesterday was with my good friend Dion Richardson as well. All right. And who says Puran for Commissioner of Police?
He batted well. He tried.
Let me ask. Paul, did you watch cricket last evening?
Good morning, everyone. No.
That means no. It's a good game, though. Didn't think they were going to make that runs, though.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
To get such a competitive match in a high-scoring match. Competitive score. High-scoring match. It was a really good game. Congratulations to
you get a holiday tomorrow.
Yeah. They have now qualified. And, of course, tomorrow's holiday, we play St. Lucia Kings. That's at 10 o'clock in the morning. That down there is going to be hot and sticky. Oh.
Yeah, boy. This weekend was hot. Oh, geez, and ages. Saturday, yesterday, that was a different kind of heat, boy. That was a draining heat.
Yeah.
Of course, we did have our the group of companies, Gillette group of companies, had the curry cook-off on Saturday. It was really good.
Oh.
Good morning to the folks out at Munchkins. I'm an honorary member of the Munchkins crew. Just thought to let you know that.
Saturday. Okay, I clean forget that.
It was good. You miss out. I don't even know who won. Paul, who won? Did we win?
No. I'm unaware.
No, Paul was around. He was the official photo takeouter. He was indeed. It was a nice line, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a nice line.
It was actually very nice.
Yeah, it was. It was. Meeting the other folks and having a little old talk with them.
You're part of a group, so it was good to meet the other arms of the group and their families.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some old faces I haven't seen in a while.
All right.
But it was a nice night. It was scorching hot.
Is it that the Gillette brothers jumped in the pool, Steve?
Oh, I left before that, did they?
Because I saw a picture of all three of them wet from head to toe.
Oh, they jumped in the pool.
In shorts. Because it was a hot day, so I'm presuming they jumped in the pool.
Okay.
Yeah. It was scorching. It was.
Yes, anyway, good morning, everyone.
Yeah, so good morning to you.
Happy Republic, Trinidad and Tobago.
Which is tomorrow.
Yes, and TNT officially will recognize and initiate diplomatic relations with the independencies of Palestine today. I got a voice note from Dr. Emery Brown, Minister of Foreign and Caribbean Affairs, who is in New York attending that conference. So we see how that goes. That's a kind of sensitive situation between Palestine and Israel.
Very sensitive.
So it's a kind of bold move on TNT's part to recognize Palestine,
I wonder if I'll get him for 5 minutes.
Dr. Brown?
I don't think so.
You could try.
Well, let me try feeling. 50% I'd get him, 50% I won't. So I'll try feeling.
And also, well, tomorrow, have we gotten a hint yet as who will be receiving national awards? Normally, it comes out in the newspaper the day before. Or
probably today.
Huh?
Probably later today.
Okay, because you haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything about it.
Usually it would have been published in the newspaper yesterday.
Yeah.
Sunday newspaper, which has the highest circulation. But I guess it'll come today.
Yeah, because, all right.
See, there's a brouhaha happening with the Hunter Search and Rescue Group.
I read that story and I just shake my head, I say, why everything had to be a bacchanal in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, just get a new name.
They now have 3 splinter groups. I didn't even know that. For the Hunter Search and Rescue. All 3 are claiming the name and claiming, how I should put it, credit for what's going on. Oh, goodness. Even in rescuing people, we have a war, we have a fight.
Yeah, I really don't know.
And folks, in case you don't know what we're talking about, the Hunter Search and Rescue group is now splintered into 3. All 3 people, Valence Rambarat, a guy named Ayube, and the next one, I think is Gopi Singh. I'm not sure it is Gopi Singh. 3 of them are claiming ownership of it. But apparently the records show that the third man actually registered the name first, But Valence Rambarat is claiming he is the rightful owner and he is the one who's been doing all the rescuing and so on. I suspect there's something political brewing in the middle of that. I don't know why. That's how I feel, because I know Valence, you understand, and I know Valence is a political person, you understand. So I suspect there's something brewing in the middle of that. But it's a pity that it's come down to a court. They're going to court, Court. I don't know that they're even getting any funding. So I don't even know that. I don't even know that it's a question of battling it because one group getting funding and the others not getting or whatever.
They must find Valence name calling too much.
Yeah, probably.
That's how petty Trinidad people could be. Not necessarily Trinidad, people could be.
Yeah.
They must find Valence name calling too much. Later today, we will hear from Finance Minister Colm Imber about when the new deadline will be for property tax. September 30th is the original date. He indicated in the Senate and the House last week that, well, given the lines and the clear lack of preparation for the mass payment, that they will be extending the deadline for payment of property tax. And also, he did say in the Senate that they are seeking to put in place additional payment options online through banks, etc. So we'll hear that later on today. And in 1 week, he'll read the National Budget 24-25.
Yeah. But that was kind of almost
of September. Sorry?
I said that was pretty predictable.
Well, yeah. Given the fact that it's clear that they didn't cross the T's and dot the I's in terms of preparation for mass payment of that tax, which is surprising given the length of time it's taken to get to book.
Yeah.
But what I will tell all you, welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. And the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cams. The model number is EC310 Smart 4K body cams. I'm going to try to bring up the little commercial.
Why are you reading old stories?
Leave me alone.
That can't be a new story.
It's a new story.
Yes, sir. Was it number EC what?
I read this thing going. I had it this morning. I was researching them.
Let me see.
I was researching them.
So it's EC.
EC310.
EC310 body cam.
They're coming from Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited.
Well, I do a Google on Diamond Systems and Supply when I got this story over the weekend, right? Who got the contract to work with Huawei to bring these cameras to Trinidad and for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, right? You know what came up? Maybe they don't have the whole portfolio on the website or online, but I see a cell phone company. Am I wrong, Wendell?
No, you're not wrong. I see the same thing.
Maybe it's something me search properly. Maybe I didn't search properly, but I saw. Let me tell you what it is. I don't want to invent anything here. I like the tax thing you sent for me.
Oh.
Not too much tax to pay. Diamond Systems and Supplies. Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited. If it is the same. If it is the same.
You falling on tax there, Paul.
If it is the same Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited from La Romaine, which is the same place that the Google search brought up, right? And under Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited, there's a website that I went to, and under the title of the website, latest cell phone and compare select options, TTD, Samsung Galaxy A03, and then a series of other things. So a cell phone company get a 24,965,310 contract to bring in 3,000 body cams, which translates roughly, if you divide 3,000 into that, $8,333.30 per unit.
Coming from China.
But of course, to be fair, you have to take out from that the company's piece.
Yeah.
Our money, the shipping costs, I'm presuming, you understand, that other additional whatever they have to pay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But on average, when you split up all the costs, it costing all you $8,000 per unit. Let me see to go with them. Because they have $1,000 that they don't seem to be weighing when they should be weighing them. given what David West has told us as the director of the PCA, that he has never received body cam footage related to police in relation to police-related shootings. You understand? He received 2. One had mud in it because it fell in the mud, and the next one wasn't turned on properly or something. So, right?
And this is what it looks like, in case you all could see.
I'm going to bring up the video, as they say.
This is what the camera looks like. The EC 310.
You're Russia.
Oh, you're doing it? You're doing it from here, sir?
Yeah, I want to play it. Calm yourself now, man. Present. Share screen. Body cam. Select. Share. Press play. Are you seeing that? The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Take technology, you're come with something.
Oh, we definitely need that for the mud.
Oh, you see one thing that could go through, right?
What did they give him 2 years to train on that?
Oh, you see how much pressure that thing could take, right?
Is it mud proof?
Rain and thing it could take, All right. It fall in water and thing.
If it could go through snow, it could go through mud.
Well, you see thing that it could go through fire and snow and fall in water and thing,
But snow is glorified mud.
Right?
What's the battery life? We didn't see the battery life.
Oh, you see, Watch. You could put on your short thing, it ain't falling off and thing in the offices, Taking pressure, they watch. Holding up, taking pressure, watch. Oh, you watch. Best thing.
4K as well.
You see how you're getting best body cams, 3,000, 1,000 ready to ship, 1,000 being manufactured, and 1,000 coming before the end of the year. There are approximately 6,000 police officers, right? 6, 7 or so.
Yeah.
About 2,000 that is desk duty and inside. So we could be reasonably, and they have 1,200 here, so we could be reasonably assured that almost every officer by the end of the year who going out on the street and dealing with will have a body cam on them, right?
Not so. Access to a body cam.
let me wait and see. And these is over $8,000 for each one. Right. So
based on the contract that was given out.
Based on the contract. But as I said before, I was fair. Some of that money had to go to the cell phone company. Who clearly have expertise in bringing in body cam.
Yeah, somebody had to make a profit. I mean,
somebody had to eat her food. You understand? So, all right, police, over to you now. Over to you.
But that camera almost looks like, you remember the video of the policewoman with the camouflage bandana when she said, "You're being recorded, ma'am," and she put her hand by a little black device? That almost looked like the same thing,
No, I feel this is the best thing. They get the best that money could buy.
Yeah.
I feel they get the best that money could buy.
Well, they more than deserve it.
Remember, they take a while to train in the first set, and the first set wasn't so high tech.
And what's the cost of it, Paul?
You will see he named jump out just now. What the police welfare man name?
Oh, Gideon.
Right.
Yeah, Dixon.
You go jump out just now and see that some anyway.
Never don't call him man Gideon, eh? ASP Gideon Dixon.
Yeah, let me hush my mouth.
ASP Gideon Dixon.
Let me hush my mouth.
It's Amazon is offering top-rated law enforcement grade body cams with night vision for $159. But that doesn't say the EC310 person who sent
No, that is not the best of. That is
They're
not the best in class.
They're not the best. Oh God, and look who the post coming from. Why I read that disgusting individual. I take that back, people. One of the most despicable people on planet Earth right now.
And you have him as a friend?
No, I don't have him as a friend. Somebody sent me his posting. I'm not reading. Listen, the person who sent me that, I'll block you next time you send me anything from him.
Good. Where's all this bacchanal joy? I walk right into.
I tell you, 3-4 people I don't deal with. Anil Roberts, Philip Alexander, Inchan Ishmael, and is a toss-up between Naked and Duke and them. But you see them three, don't send me nothing from them. I'm not reading it, I'm not sharing it, I'm not watching it, nothing. Don't send me nothing from three of them. Thank you. That's for everybody who listening. Right, go ahead, Richard. Sorry. Morning, Richard.
Morning. No, I see you walking like it was hot. Somebody got you hot.
No, I started to read
somebody
and then I
get you hot
realized where it come from. The person who sent it to me is a good friend, and I don't mind, when they send me information. But don't send me information from them people. And I read it.
Well, you should be glad.
Everybody had a good weekend?
I had a great weekend.
You didn't see the curry cook-off? Or you went to see... Oh, I was so deep in rehearsals, I forgot about that completely. I saw it, and then I forgot about it because I was just... For the entire weekend, I was in rehearsals. Because we have this play opening this weekend at Queen's Hall called That's Extravagant News. What happens in the dark comes to the light. And that, of course, premieres at Queen's Hall this weekend, Saturday at 8:30 and Sunday at 6:30. And Queen's Hall is already selling tickets since last week. So get your tickets as early as possible. Queen's Hall, of course, opens from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, and all the usual outlets have tickets. But yeah, so I was deep with that with rehearsals now. We had some very long rehearsals.
Morning, Barrington, Skippy Thomas. No, you're not on that list. Skippy said that list had me anxious. Where we will get away.
Over the weekend, my heart was warmed when it was confirmed that the Prime Minister sent a note of support and prayers.
I just pulled that up to read it.
Gary Griffith and his wife, Nicole Griffith. Nicole, who indicated to the country, I guess the world last Saturday, that she's being treated for stage 3 breast cancer. And the Prime Minister took time to send a note to Mrs. Dia Griffith and Gary, offering them prayers and support, which I think was a wonderful gesture, given their history. And I think that sort of humanity is extremely commendable.
Yeah, I think I should read a little bit from it. I just pulled it up, Paul. Thanks. Last Saturday, Griffith's wife, Nicole Dyer Griffith, made headlines by revealing her battle with breast cancer, courageously showing her shaved head. This is words of Gary, right? He expressed gratitude to everyone who sent well wishes and prayers, including a political leader he did not name who extended support for Dyer Griffith. And this is Gary's talking now. For somebody being a major political opponent of the NTA, for that individual to have the maturity, the class, the professionalism, and the humility to contact me and to wish Nicole, my wife, and my family best wishes, that they would have us in their prayers, that says a lot about the political maturity and the class of that individual. So he and his wife, I wish to thank them. While Griffith refused to name the political leader in question, as he felt it would be inappropriate to do so considering the private nature of the message, Guardian Media reached out to Dr. Keith Rowley, who confirmed it was him. Asked what encouraged him to reach out, Dr. Rowley said it was the only human and decent thing to do. So
I think it is such a commendable thing.
yeah, it is extremely commendable.
And it shows that, it shows his maturity, and he's mature, and his humanity. So I think for Gary to accept also. And,
I think we've maintained on this program, health issues should not be not be used politically.
Well, I mean, Dr. Raleigh could have said nothing. That's the point,
Yeah.
He could have remained silent and said nothing, but he did make an overture of support and praise, and I think that is extremely commendable.
Yeah.
So it means that people can put aside politics, and very often, and the both of them have been going at it for years now, vitriolic politics in the interest of somebody who is clearly going through something, and it's a very commendable human act, and I think it's deserving of commendation on both sides. The one who did it and the one who accepted it. The family who accepted it. So that was quite heartwarming, in spite of what we're going through in this country. So
that's true.
Richard, you hear the police getting 3 high-tech body cams?
3,000.
3,000, sorry. But they might use 3. I must see why I say 3.
And I saw the post and I saw the cost.
It's about just over $8,000 for each unit. I ain't take all the piece that the cell phone company who get the contract does get when I get in.
Maybe there's a maintenance part of that contract too, and not just supplying.
Quite possibly, I would hope so. That's the way contract should be these days.
Yeah.
But we will see.
So if one drop in the mud, if about 10 drop in the mud, you push them, put them in a plastic bag, and you drop them back by the company and let them wash them off.
What is good about these is that the technology they have is that there can be real-time transmission to a command center, and also the officers can get instructions from the superiors at the command center through the body cam, and there's no chain of custody of evidence with the footage because it can go straight to command center and be recorded there and on the device.
Yeah.
In law, when they build in cases, you need to have a chain of command because somebody can tamper with the evidence and they edit the video and, la. Yeah, so the only thing left now is for them to reach and for them to wear them.
Yeah. Maybe the company is also taking the responsibility for doing the monitoring and downloading of particular videos and so on. Maybe all that's part of the contract, Because I don't trust the police to do that part.
Well, a third-party company, to my knowledge, cannot be legally involved in that. They're not a state criminal justice system authorized entity. So you'll have possession. They're not authorized to hold no evidence on behalf of the DPP, the judiciary, or the police. As a third-party, can you see a law with that? With them naming it?
You forget being Trinidad and Tobago, and that happened just the other day.
Where? Tell me.
That happened. It didn't.
Tell me. Explain to me where it happened.
Was not alleged. Let me say alleged to be taking place with the SSA and their monitoring systems.
No, my understanding of the SSA is what they were doing unauthorized stuff, but the SSA is a bona fide constitutional body. It was not. It was third party doing their thing. They must just doing their own thing.
I will send you the reminder.
No, you don't have to send me.
Yeah. But it's good news. I mean, I thought those cams aren't in the country already.
They said 1,000 ready to be shipped, 1,000 being manufactured, and the last 1,000 come before the end of the year.
Oh God! Are we kind of buy this song like deja vu?
I tell Paul I asked Paul earlier on Richard. I say, Paul, why are you reading that old article?
That's funny. Like deja vu. 1,000 coming in, 1,000 to come.
Yes, David. The body cams can be switched. I think they can, but if they could, I don't know if they can switch on from remote, but it certainly will send the video footage straight to the command center. But I mean, it could fall in the mud.
Everything can be done remotely now, I'll tell all you.
But if they can blow up pager from across the world to kill people.
Exactly. Everything can be done remotely now. You notice.
But when they but I think those bombs were allegedly put into them before they shipped off to the.
That is a real sinister thing.
Eventual buyer.
I didn't get it. I didn't get that part of the story.
Yeah.
So them know they were selling bomb pager too.
I think they actually included those triggers
Wow.
in them before they were shipped to. I need to tell you the degree. No, I don't think Israel. Did Israel ever claim?
Yes.
They have remained silent. I don't know if they have said it's them, but the level of logistics to go through that and then walkie-talkies, it is the level of which the Mossad, or if it's Israel, but I mean, of course, it's. I don't know if it's confirmed.
Fingers are pointing at them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's confirmed 100% it's them, but I don't know. I haven't kept up to date with it, but yeah. But those body cams, won't they be waterproof and all of that?
Yeah, we played the commercial earlier. Waterproof, fireproof, snowproof, mud-proof, damage-proof, pong-proof, stamp on it proof. Let me see the TTPS.
There's an ad that says all of that.
Yeah, we played the ad earlier.
You saw the ad just now, Richard.
Oh, okay.
And they take thing and pong them, and they run through snow and they run through fire. Let me see the TTPS proof.
It's a serious body cam.
For that price, it better be. There has been a Freedom of Information request sent to the Attorney General, Reginald Amo, Senior Counsel, asking for the file from former Justice Stanley John, who did an investigation into the missing file that cost the country $20 million, or going to cost the country $20 million, as expected. And I'm waiting to see what objection they put to that. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see, because I think it cost about $1,800,000 and something for the investigation. Yet another murder, sadly, in Tobago. 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell. He became the 24th person to be murdered in Tobago on the island in this year so far, which is stunning. You know,
it's crazy.
Thinking of Tobago.
Yeah.
His mother says she's not surprised he was killed. He was a Coastal Lemon and he blocked with bad boys or something of that nature.
See, ACP Oswin Suberu is now in charge of Tobago.
But they had a big shake-up.
Yes.
Yeah, they removed 2 of the top-tier police officers, not so?
Yeah, Collis Hazel and Rodell Cook, they moved both of them.
Yeah.
And Oswin Suberu, and I can't remember the other name, they have gone across to replace them in Tobago.
So let me see.
Yeah.
And 2 men, including a 19-year-old member of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and a 22-year-old, are to be charged with the murder of Diego Ropa of Maraval on September 12th. You never hear Coast Guard people in Bacchanal.
They were charged with the murder of whom?
Diego Ropa.
Oh.
You're 19 years old. You're now going in the Coast Guard. How you end up in this?
Wow.
You're 19. You're not even 20 yet. I don't know. You're not even 20 yet. I don't know where Steve went to, so we can't call to open the phone lines.
Paul, you sent me a story yesterday that I don't follow at all. You know which one? It's
Which
4
one
pages of a story you sent me.
I don't understand it neither.
I read through this thing. I said,
hence I didn't reference it this morning. But them have plenty money and plenty lawyer.
Sure.
Okay. They have plenty money and plenty lawyer and plenty other things. Okay. Well, I'm Steve going up to the little room out.
You going to the room in the back?
Where he gone? He just disappeared. Never a dull moment. So we didn't go here September affair, Wendell?
No, I didn't go.
I've seen enough pictures.
I didn't.
Was that a fundraiser of some type?
It's a fundraiser that been put in place. I was one on the original committee of that with Jerry Naris way back in the day.
So what is raise funds for?
For the party. There's another fundraiser. The party would have all these fundraisers during the course of the year, you know, including raffle and thing. But that's another fundraiser for the party. You know, that's a who's who though. No,
so everybody who was there is a bona fide PNM.
No. A lot of diplomatic people and so on attend.
I'm just asking. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I meet Stephen K.D.'s way back in the day in one of them functions. Right before he went up for the...
That is before when he said he would never enter politics.
Yes, yes. I met him at one of those functions.
When he had been marching in the Hudson and say he would never enter politics, right? Then, okay.
Yep. He said.
Rose eyes.
I see plenty known other political activists in those functions before. I mean, I haven't attended for the last few years. You know what I mean? But, yeah.
And I hear in St. Joseph is going to be a battleground. If you're here, who going up? I hear.
For who? And we don't know who going up already?
I don't think you know who going up.
But Gary has shown his hat in that ring.
Gary.
Yeah. Gary is
And he was shadowing it for the UNC. The current MP is Terence Dealsing.
Current.
I said the current MP. I didn't say the future MP. I said the current. Because I think Mr. Dealsing hinted to us last time that he doesn't know what will happen. You know? We'll wait and see.
Beauty and the Beast.
Is that a hint?
Expect rain.
Here you come back. Wash your hands.
Oh, is it the name you called for me and I told you that person will make an excellent candidate? And you say shame with that bacchanal?
Steve, open the phone line, please.
This is what, St. Joseph?
Yes.
St. Joseph.
So you're trying to say that Mr. Dealsing is not going
I'm not
back?
trying to say anything. Steve, open
But
the
it
phone
seems
line,
that that's what you're saying.
Steve, open the phone line, please.
That is what I am gathering from you, that Terence is not going back up and the PNL
kindly open the phone line.
Richard, and if you hear the name, I think I know who you're talking about.
And somebody come in and ask you, that is you? I said, no. I said, absolutely not.
Oh!
Oh, you now get it?
I don't get that part too.
Right. Steve, open the phone line fast.
Oh, Dr. Richards, you're very clever.
Good morning.
Dr. Richards, you're a clever man.
I would like to think so. I try.
Hello, good morning.
Beauty and the Beast. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Hope I have a productive week ahead.
Yeah, man.
I want to congratulate TKR for a good victory last night.
Oh, you just played last night? Okay.
Yeah, TKR, they won against Patriots.
Yeah, I didn't think they're a win at all.
Actually, Steve, since ICC gave us a flag for that pitch, did you realize that they changed the pitch from a spin pitch to a batting pitch? No,
but Brian Lara Stadium is always a batting pitch, you know.
Not necessarily. The average on that pitch, Wendell, was 145. 145 to 149.
God, you're in real technical now.
Yeah, the highest score on that pitch should have been 167 by Guyana Amazon.
These are real cricket, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, boy. These are real cricket, man.
Well,
I noticed since they actually changed the pitch after the game between South Africa and Afghanistan, ICC gave us a flag and they have changed the pitch from a bowling pitch to a batting pitch.
But that pitch was a disastrous pitch. That particular game you're talking about. They got criticism for that pitch.
The pitch was like that because remember we had some torrential rainfall. So and then to Afghanistan would have played a game before, a back-to-back game, and they were actually celebrating the victory against England. So while they were celebrating that victory, the next day I do expect you to bat properly. I just want to point out that. And quickly on the issue of the body cams, I was looking at a costing for this in terms of where I'm seeing body cams in the US, quoted in US dollars, at around up to $100 US dollars, and I'm seeing the runtime of 12 hours in some of these body cams. This body cam is actually coming from the company called Huawei, and it's giving you a runtime of 8 hours. You can change the battery and still get a runtime of 3 to 5 minutes in terms of changing the battery. So you still have recording while you are changing the battery. So it's going to be quite interesting. It is.
I could ask you a question.
Mm.
Now 8 hours include going to the grocery.
Well, remember the guy who in charge of the police welfare said how they need training to use the body cams there. So let me see how much training they need.
And then it's trips there.
I remember. Training became an issue and we brought that up.
He's an expert on polygraph testing too.
How long it takes you to train somebody to use a body cam? You know?
I mean, it's quite laughable, Richard. It's very laughable. I mean, at best. Put it at
It's
that.
not laughable because a very serious issue. Because of the 41 police involved killings for the year so far, the police complaints authority has received no footage. So it's not laughable at all.
Yeah.
It's very
No,
serious.
I'm talking about the excuse by the individual.
The excuse is extremely laughable, yes.
Mm.
And you go come with more.
That's what I'm talking about.
Richard, you have papers?
It's a step in the
No, I
right
don't this morning.
direction.
All right. Thank you, caller. Let's take one more call, Paul, before we...
Of course, he coming with excuses.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah. Hi.
Carol.
I am hoping that the Commissioner of Police has, the statement came out that she said the amount of money they are allotting for body cameras. I only hope it doesn't end up like what Gary Griffith did, because he said he bought the first set of camera body cam, and they are sitting there and not being used. So, Mrs. Christopher, I hope you get results from these new set of body cameras that you bought, because I don't think we could continue to go on this way. Because I don't know if you all saw that video from that. I don't know if it's an old video or new video. Somebody sent it, it circulated from this Alexis boy, Robocop's son, and what he went through from the Shogunas police. Well, he said he spoke to Mr. West from the PCA. So I hope it bear fruit, and I hope he could get the results he needs concerning what he's going through. Because our police can't be doing that if it is alleged, right? And there need to be redress from those officers. So you all have a blessed day.
Yeah. Thanks. I haven't seen much news reported about the opening of the law term, gentlemen.
Yes, it was.
I haven't seen it much.
Well, same old, so it was news. Same old.
Didn't the Chief Justice make any groundbreaking statements this time?
6:47.
Richard?
Both of you being snarky about the Chief
Monday,
Justice.
23rd
Yes, he is
September.
being snarky about the Chief Justice.
I am not at all.
Yes, there was an implication of snarkiness.
Yeah.
Monday,
That
23rd
undertone,
of September.
that snarky undertone came out.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the dismissive eyes.
Mm-hmm. The roll. Look at it. It's a roll.
You are ready for the papers?
All right, papers. We have 2 minutes.
That's Monday, 23rd of September. Happy Republic Day tomorrow, Trinidad and Tobago. Let's start with the Express. Boy hit by car on beach. A 6-year-old boy was struck by a car drove along the shoreline of a beach in Clifton Hill.
What?
He was not critically injured, fortunately. Dutton, need for SOE. That's Clive Dutton. Laborer, 24th, a victim in Tobago. Suspect free. One of the men held in connection with last week's robbery of Minister of Health Terence Dennise has been released. $43.6 million for CPAP. Scotiabank mom a new $50 Visa debit card limit. The newspapers called Scotiabank after the release was made public. Yeah, there's a big backhand over the weekend too.
$50.
You know, all those banks going to follow suit, right?
I hope not.
But you know, just for clarity, that's the regular Scotiabank card.
The debit card.
That's not your credit card.
Yeah.
It's a Visa debit card limit.
Your regular
or debit card.
Your regular Scotiabank card works in particularly Bank of America ATM in the US, and you can get $100 a day from your TT card.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're not.
And I don't think there's a charge for that. I don't think there's
I
a
think
bank.
they're now reducing it to 50. That's what they're talking about. Not
There's
your
always a
credit
charge.
card. Not your credit card.
There's
Credit
always
card
a
have its
charge for
own
that, Steve.
reducing. Huh?
No, I'm telling Steve, there's always a charge. When you're inserting...
No, yeah, but one point way back when there was still problems to get US, you could have used your Scotia debit card at a Bank of America ATM and get US dollars with no banking charges.
I'm
Yeah.
not so certain about that one.
Yeah. No, I've done it. So, and I checked my statement afterwards and there was no charge.
You can't be so old as to remember in 400 years back.
Oh, Lord.
Go ahead, Rich.
Me? Paul, it's Paul.
Oh, Paul.
I was looking for the guy.
You sure? Are you sure?
Yes, we sure this time.
You sure, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Coast Guardsman charges Paramin murder. Let's move to the Guardian now. You can pick up that snack in yesterday, though.
Yeah, we pick it up. We got custom.
Yeah, we don't refer to all of your snacking. It's a little too much.
Let's move to the Guardian. High hopes to new ACPs in division and high murders. They've reshuffled the heads of the divisions now, hoping to have more effectiveness in crime suppression and crime fighting. Harry, judicial officers need training. Tobago Business Chamber wants a further police shake-up on the island. Tobago's latest murder linked to a hit list. Dottin, politics hindering unified fight against crime. The Alsing robbery suspect released from custody. Coast Guardman assisting police as one of its own is arrested. And 9 arrested for various offenses in 24 hours. Let's move to the news day. Quickly, because we're running out of time. Emperor Valley Zoo kangaroo Jack died since May. I mean,
that was a big story.
Should I continue?
Yes, Richards, go ahead now.
Amin Al-Rari's power over local government money.
You're joking.
Dancing, anti-people taxes coming. Security guard robbed and beaten at Orange Valley Fish Market. The Alsing robbery suspect released, and Chamber head laments 24 murders, poor policing, Tobago paradise lost. Those are trending stories in your Express, Guardian, and News. They don't have had a chance to complete them for today, Monday, the 23rd of September, 2024.
Another peep about the TJ, the Chief Justice. That's amazing.
And no coverage yesterday, people either. Not much.
Really?
Same old, you see, but really groundbreaking.
All right, let's get the results of our morning poll where we asked you on Friday, do you agree with the Energy Chamber that electricity subsidy should be removed in the upcoming budget, which is 1 week from today? The results are in. 80%, 80, said no. Right, let's get into this morning's poll. It's up on your screen already.
They're not short poll today. Too much taxes.
Do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new tranche of body cams arrive in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning.
I didn't say
today, boy.
I didn't say they were tested. We want if there's going to be footage. Understand the question. They could wait, but we don't have to have footage. The question is, do you expect more footage?
Yeah.
But how you come to tranche? I thought we could use shipment, for the people who might be a little slow.
Widen your vocabulary, Wendell. Try. Widen your vocabulary, please.
Do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new tranche of body cams arrive in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. So 222-8255 North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and streaming platforms, send your messages via the message portal there. And of course, if you're watching us on TV and other smart devices, you can WhatsApp us at 868-318-1021.
One tranche of 1,000 is ready for shipment. The second tranche of 1,000 has started manufacturing, and the third tranche is expected here by the end of the year. 3 tranches.
You're sounding like the Dr. Richards is sticking in St. Jude.
Wow. All right, let's
see what votes we have. Kadeem Khan says yes. Oh, no, that's something else. Okay, that's something. Boy Badisi says no. Cohen Duke says yes. Okay, let's see. Anthony in Toronto says no. Val says no. Jaron says no. Cascade St. Anne's says no. Vincent in the UK says yes. Good morning, Sankofa. Let's see. Good morning, Central Animal Lover, celebrating a 26th wedding
I should
anniversary
have specified
today.
crime-related footage, should I?
Happy anniversary.
I should have specified crime-related footage.
Well, you might get all kind of footage too.
Exactly.
But I mean, traffic footage, I don't mind seeing it because sometimes it helps too with certain incidents.
All right. Dan Rad says, don't forget me, wife birthday was yesterday. Miss Serju. So happy belated birthday to you, Miss Serju. All right.
Yes.
All the best to you. Hope you had a great day. Captain Ron says from Washington, D.C. Hot. Says no. What says you, caller?
Good morning, gentlemen. Let me wish my son happy birthday tomorrow. Sandy Grandy, my answer is yes.
All right. And happy birthday to your son tomorrow. Let's see.
Yeah,
So,
from a,
our poll this morning, do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new tranche of body cams arrive in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. What do you
Donald
think?
Clark says certainly. Andre says yes. Slick Money Grip says no. Wayne Joseph in Canada says yes. Kareem Mohammed says no. David Wares and Mrs. Wares, good morning, says yes. Gregory Bauer says yes. Michael Gradison out in Japan says no. Julia Espati says yes. Beauty Culture says yes. Up North says yes. Singing and soak every time I hear that name. Celia says no. Do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new trans of body cameras arrive in a sweet TNT? Yes or no? CJ New York says no. You have a couple of minutes again, 2.5. 222-8255, toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. All right.
So do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new tranche of body cams arrive in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. We know you have an opinion and we want to hear it. Yes or no? What do you think?
Lester Craigwell says yes to the poll. Gene Clark says yes.
morning, Lester from Snow Cone Man run by QRC. There he listens to this show every single day.
Saturday I was going to pass by him anyway. That no parking.
These days it's Snow Cone days, trust me.
Yeah, boy. Michael out in the UK says yes, but the criminals don't care. Richard P. Knight says yes. CPT Singh says yes from Caroni. Winston says no. Kenny out in Harlem says no. Kadeem Khan says yes. DL says yes. All right. Of course, our poll will stay up on our mobile app, which you should have by now, just for Power 102 Digital, whatever platform. And our website at power102fm.com. Oscar Daniel says no. WhatsApp 318-1021.
Morning, Zena. What's the name of that new place?
That's Extravagant News.
What's that, Paul? Sorry.
What's the name of that new place down the other Shaga? I must stay by the.
Oh, I thought you said play. Sorry.
You please. Again, a
What
Shagarama.
Cabana was? What's this called now?
Oh, I can't remember.
5 Islands?
No,
No, right before the barracks.
Oh, no, well, it used to be the Cove.
It's still cool.
Oh, sorry. I think it's going into
Brent, what was Brent's name? Brent is running there. That's a lovely place, you know.
Cheryl Henry says yes. All right, let's run into our major news. AV is. Hold on, no, let me turn the camera and she'll tell you what AV is. Hold on.
Cold. It is freezing in here, Steve.
Something is wrong with you.
You know cold?
No.
It is freezing in here.
Avy is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
New deadline for property tax payment to be made known today. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cameras for police officers. Yet another murder in Tobago as 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell becomes the 24th person to be murdered on the island this year. And the Tobago Business Chamber appeals for a further police shakeup. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bob. Good morning. Today, the population will find out from the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, the new deadline date for the payment of property tax. September 30th this year is the original deadline date for the tax to be paid. However, last week, Friday, Parliament was told by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley that government has considered and approved an extension to the deadline date for payment of the property tax. The opposition UNC wanted to know, given the chaos and long lines which has been observed and experienced by citizens outside of the offices of the Board of Inland Revenue, whether the government had considered and approved an extension to citizens paying the tax. Today, the population will find out, or rather, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cameras for police officers. In recent weeks, Director of the Police Complaints Authority, David West, indicated that the PCA has never received any body camera footage in relation to police-involved deaths. There have been 41 fatal police shootings already recorded for this year and resistance by officers to wearing cameras. At this time, 1,120 police officers have been provided with body cameras to wear on the job, but they have not been fully used as required. In April, Commissioner of Police Earl Haywood Christopher gave a directive to officers who had been issued such devices to wear them while on duty. Diamond Systems and Supplies Limited, a Laramine-based company, has partnered with Huawei to bring in the body-worn cameras from China. The 3,000 EC310 Smart 4K body-worn cameras come at a cost of TT $24,964,310. 1,000 body cameras have already been shipped, are ready to be shipped, while another 1,000 are being manufactured, with the last 1,000 expected to be sent by the end of the year. The EC310 Smart 4K body cams allow for real-time viewing of police operations and recording footage live into the evidence management platform where all the footage is stored, and it cannot be deleted or altered, and that provides for a chain of custody. A Freedom of Information, or FOI, request has been sent to Attorney General Reginald Armour, SC, in relation to a report by former Justice Stanley John into the missing file related to a malicious prosecution case involving 9 men who were charged for the kidnapping and murder of businesswoman Vindra Naipaul Coolman in 2007. The request was sent by Attorney-at-Law Ganesh Sarup, representing the 9 men charged with the kidnapping. Sarup is representing Siobhan Peters, Devon Peters, Anthony Gloucester, Joel Frazier, Ronald Armstrong, Keita Garcia, Jamil Garcia, Marlon Trimmingham, and Antonio Charles. The men, along with Earl Trimmingham, Raphael William, Alan Scanny Martin, and Lyndon James, were charged for Naipaul Coolman's kidnapping and murder. Sarup said after a full trial on May 30th, 2016, a jury returned a not guilty verdict for all his clients. Sarup contended that his clients waited for more than a year for Attorney General Armour to analyze the report and disclose it to them so they could make the necessary representations to the court. The AG did not comply, and because of this, he was forced to file for the FOI regarding the contents of the report. Against this background, the FOI request was filed. The request seeks a copy of the Stanley John report into the missing file to be provided to Sarup. Yet another murder in Tobago as 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell became the 24th person to be murdered on the island this year. This was the second murder in the village of Argyle in less than 20 or 48 hours. According to police reports, at around 2 a.m. yesterday, Anne-Marie Mitchell was at home when she heard 2 gunshots and heard her son Nicholas, a 32-year-old laborer, yell out. He had been shot several times and died minutes later. The Roxborough police station was contacted and first responders visited the scene and found him dead. His mother, Anne-Marie Mitchell, said she warned her son, Nicholas Mitchell, about liming on the block and was not surprised to hear that he was killed. Investigations are continuing into this latest murder in Tobago. Meanwhile, the Tobago Business Chamber is calling for a further shake-up of police on the island. It comes from the president of the chamber, Martin George. On Sunday, George told the media replacing acting ACP Collis Hazel and Senior Superintendent Rodhill Kirk with ACP Osborne Subero and Senior Superintendent Earl Alley 2 weeks ago was the first step in the right direction. He made the remarks while speaking at the Citizens Summit on Crime and Violence at the TML Hall, St. Joseph. However, he claimed more officers should be shuffled as they have been too complacent. Two men, including a 19-year-old member of the Coast Guard, officer of Diego Martin, and a 22-year-old of Belmont are to be charged with the murder of Diego Roper of Maraval on September 12th. This comes after investigators received advice from Acting Director of Public Prosecutions Sabrina Dugdeen Jaglal on Friday, police said in a release. Police reports said around 9:30 p.m. on September 8th, Roper was on the road in front of his home when he was heard shouting, "No boy, no boy," which was followed by the sound of loud explosions. The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard says it is aware one of its members is currently in custody of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, assisting them in an ongoing investigation. TTCG assured members of the public that it holds its members to a high standard of discipline and does not condone any behavior in breach of the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. The suspects were arrested on September 15th and 16th and are expected to appear before the High Court this morning. Investigative teams from the Homicide Bureau of Investigations, under the supervision of ASP Ramjag, Inspectors Mongru and Ramsumir, or Mongru and Ramsumir, and WPC Grant, presented the facts before the DPP, who advised that the suspects be charged. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. There are now 18 laboratory-confirmed dengue deaths locally. The Ministry of Health provided the information in its latest update on dengue cases. It confirms there are 1,416 laboratory-confirmed cases of dengue fever. As at September 19th, 2024, a total of 1,145 yellow fever notices had been issued to property owners or occupiers, directing them to clean up their surroundings. Of this, 64 property owners or occupiers have thus far been identified for the consideration or institution of legal proceedings for non-compliance. Finally, let's find out what's happening with our weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, fair to partly cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers and the low to medium chance of the heavier shower or thunderstorm occurring in a few localities. Nighttime would be mostly fair despite the isolated shower. Gusty winds and street flooding are possible in the vicinity of heavy downpours. However, there is a yellow level hot spell alert that is still in effect for Trinidad and Tobago. However, your high temperature today, at least this morning, it's not too bad. It's 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. However, it is already 28 degrees Celsius at Piarco and it's 26 degrees Celsius at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, new deadline for property tax payment to be made known today. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cameras for police officers. Yet another murder in Tobago as 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell becomes the 24th person to be murdered on the island this year. Tobago Business Chamber appeals for a further police shakeup. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. There's more news coming your way at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty, Freezing AV, thank you so much for our major news. Good join her again. Come at 8 o'clock for our news brief. Take a look at traffic. Rivulet Road, heavy. Freeport to Sugar Guanas, heavy. Monroe Road towards the interchange and extension into Port of Spain, heavy. It is heavy. Where you think you're going to get traffic? You will get traffic this morning. All right. Let's see if we have any more votes on our morning poll. Do you expect more TDPS video footage when the new tranche of body cameras arrive in Trinidad and Tobago?
All right, so we got some. I got DL saying yes, Oscar Daniel saying no, Cheryl Henry saying yes, Candice did not vote. BV Smith and Goodwood Tobago says no. Winston, okay. Okay. And let's see. Alistair Hart says yes. Somebody else says yes. Don't know who this is, but you tried calling us. Reginald, but okay. We do not answer WhatsApp calls. Just thought I'll let you know that. We can't. So there you go. All right. So let's get the votes before our guest comes online.
And before that, just quickly, Steve, did we ever thank Mr. Amjad Ali from Furniture Plus for intervening in that situation? Because he did, eh?
What situation?
Remember a situation that was raised that morning with someone?
Yes. Well, of course, his lovely, very precious individual, Kavita Singh, got involved, and I did send across the information, so I assume the call. Yes, she did reply.
It was attended.
It was attended. So good morning, Kavita, and good morning, Amjad.
Yeah.
So do you expect more TTPS video footage when the new tranche of body cams arrive in Trinidad and Tobago? We had 40 people voting on the poll this morning in the allotted time. Of the 40 people, 23 of you said yes, and 17 of you said no. It was pretty even for a lot of the time. It kept going back and forth. So people were kind of split on this, hence the close results. So 23 people eventually ended up saying yes, they do expect more video footage. And 17 people said, not so much, we don't think so. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, throughout programming, and we'll give you the final results on Wednesday, because tomorrow is a holiday. So you won't be seeing us. Yep. So it's Republic Day tomorrow. And so so our next version of the poll will be on Wednesday morning.
All right. Let's say good morning, good night to our guest. Haven't seen in person in a long time. Mr. Robert Lunt, how you doing?
Hello, good morning, Paul, good morning, Steve, good morning, Richard, good morning, Wendell, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Aquaba.
Yes, it has been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yes, Wendell, Aquaba.
Yes,
Good
nice
morning,
to see
Mr.
you.
Hunt. I won your red t-shirt for them this morning.
Yeah, boy.
Well, boy, you know what they say about red. If you're not red, you're dead, right? Okay.
No comment.
Somebody women or sorry, no, let me not say that.
No.
Red is a fantastic.
Mr. Hunt.
Red is a fantastic color, especially as we are about to enter our pre Republic Day. Tomorrow is a big day for Trinidad and Tobago. It's a day that we grew up as a country when we became a republic. So I think wearing red is indeed very fitting.
Very appropriate.
Very appropriate.
Make Wendell smile there, boy.
From the time the camera came on, he came on and said, hey, he's ready about that.
Well, Mr. Hunt, good morning. For those of you who may not know, Mr. Hunt is the immediate past executive director of the IDB and the past Minister of Public Utilities. Thank you for joining us this morning. We wanted to talk a bit about Trinidad and Tobago, and you had the unique vantage point for 2 years as the executive director of the IDB, which is a significant institution in the region. And a lot of the focus has been placed on climate change. If we could start by giving us a sense of what your tour at the IDB entails, so we get a sense of what you did there as the executive director.
Well, basically, as the executive director, the IDB operates from two perspectives. They operate at the country level, on the ground, and you have at the country level the IDB office, which is right around the savannah, around the and they are staffed by IDB staff personnel who sees about the operations of each individual country. In addition, the region has one position as an executive director, and we sit at the board level, not like the board level of a bank, but actually working in the bank. We sit in Washington, 14 of us, and we are the ones that approve all the loan facilities. We are the ones that conduct and manage the operations of the institution. So like a board of directors, people, anything that requires human resource management, operational risk, credit risk, etc., comes up to the board and is approved by the management. As a result of that, the Caribbean, as I said, has one position. That position is agreed upon by all the governors of the region, and the countries that were represented in the Caribbean are basically Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Bahamas, Guyana, and yeah.
So who would make up the other 13 members, Mr. Lunt?
Well, the other 13 members are made up of borrowing member countries and non-borrowing member countries. And they are all put in groups similar to ours. I mean, of course, the Caribbean is put in one particular group. There are people from, Central America. There's a Central American group. There is there are Latin American groups made up of people like Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico are the major players. And they are on the borrowing member side. And then you have the non-borrowing member side, which is really a lot of the European countries and all the countries around the world. Japan, China, they are all non-borrowing member countries, and they are also represented also on the board of directors. So you have a board of directors and you have about 46 councillors, who also represent every member country, both borrowing and non-borrowing. So it's a very complicated and intimidated institution that you have to help to navigate. And your major role as the executive director is to seek the interests of the Caribbean region, ensure that the Caribbean region is getting its fair share as it relates to grant funding, non-interest bearing loans, ensuring that we're getting money allocated to us, ensuring that loans that come up from our region are also funded. So that there's a lot of, I suppose, lobbying and discussions among the directors. So when a loan comes before, are there any issues that directors have on the particular loan or on the country? We discuss them among ourselves, and then it goes to credit committee.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's basically the function, to represent.
Now, Trinidad and Tobago has been a
region.
beneficiary to not only loan provisions, but part of what the country that receives these loans and the development-based loans, right? Correct?
Yes, they are.
In several areas, and in some instances, quite sizable loans for development projects. In addition to the funding, because of how the IDB operates, from my understanding, from colleagues and friends who associate with the IDB, the country gets a lot of capacity building capability and implementation capability and risk management capability, because a lot of the gaps in particularly Caribbean countries, the IDB helps to move those issues along. Trinidad and Tobago has a serious, in my opinion, implementation gap or deficit. How much do you think Trinidad and Tobago has gained? Because we have a lot of projects, no matter who is in power, announced in Trinidad and Tobago, we get IDB loans, and sometimes those projects happen efficiently and sometimes they don't. Do you think that knowledge transfer, that risk management, that capacity building is happening at the level that it should be, particularly related to Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, as you said, the IDB has assisted. IDB sees itself not only as an institution that provides money, it is actually looked at as a knowledge bank. So that's an institution. When you want to get something done, there are lots of consultants and there are lots of people that you could turn to who have done a lot of this type of work throughout the region, Latin America and the Caribbean, and therefore you could turn to them for assistance. So For example, one of the key loans that we have gotten in Trinidad is the water sector loan. So this is an example of the work that we would have done over the years, and we got approved for the country. And in doing that loan, the IDB and a number of consultants you will tap in to come in and evaluate the problem. And the IDB will fund the loan when they feel that there's a viable solution. But you're right, in the region, we have identified that there's an execution capacity, an execution shortfall capacity. And therefore, a lot of work is done in assisting these regions in building capacity. So in Trinidad and Tobago, for example, you will get loans. I mean, you have knowledge gaps will be one particular area. Bureaucracy in the public service is another. Lack of digitization in the public service is another. Some of these things are being addressed, but in a lot of areas, not having appropriate staff or qualified people to be able to effectively execute the loan itself is another shortfall. So these are some of the headings where you will find gaps where even if you get the money that you get for the region, the ability to spend the money is not always there, and one needs to spend some time in building that capacity building in the region. And that is definitely one of the shortfalls, because at the end of the day,
what does that mean, inability to spend the money? What does that mean?
Well, when you get a loan, right, there are normally certain conditionalities that you need to fulfill. You just do not get money. It's like simplify it, you go to a bank where you're building a house. You do not get $200,000 or $500,000 just to build the house. The bank wouldn't just put the money in your account and say, write a check. All right, whenever you like, you need to provide the bank with certain documentation to ensure that you are spending the money. You need to build, you need a builder's estimate, you need quantity surveyors reports, etc., etc. So similarly, if you're doing a development loan, all right, you are looking at flooding in Port of Spain, or you are fixing the water sector, all right. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, we will ensure from the IDB that before you give out contracts, you had proper tendering procedures for these contracts. You ensure that you allowed for access to all members of the country. You ensured, for example, in the water sector loan, you have to hold consultations with members of the community to ensure that they are aware of what you are doing. So these are just examples. And then when you do these things, you are able to access the drawdowns. Now, if you are not able, so if you have a loan approved, and you are not doing the things that are required, or your procurement processes are not up to date, etc., you will not be able to access the money as easily as you would like to. So those are some of the requirements that will be needed before you get the money. IDB is very particular. We do not just give the money to the country or give it to the Minister of Finance. We give the money to the particular project and ensure that the project is executed in a manner that meets international standards.
Mr. Lahant, outside of the water loan that we would have accessed, could you give an example of anything else Trinidad and Tobago would have benefited from the IDB?
Well, right now, I mean, Trinidad and Tobago, the whole ministry, for example, Ministry of Digitalization, was basically set up utilizing resources from the IDB. When the ministry was set up, it was a new ministry, it's a new ministry to this particular region. And for a long while, just setting up the ministry itself, that was done with grant funding from the IDB. Money given to help ensure that they get the required staff, the structure is being utilized, is fit for purpose, etc. And additionally, a power loan, I think it was close to $100 million. We continue to provide the IDB with that type of expertise in the ministry And also, I think we are funding a big part of the digitization of Trinidad and Tobago initiative. So that's another
Yeah.
loan. We were
Is the
working on an
IDB
educational,
is the
an
IDB
educational
satisfied?
loan.
Is the IDB satisfied thus far with the progress that that particular digitization loan has resulted?
Well, that particular, one thing I've learned, I mean, prior to when I left the bank, I also went to Answer Bank to set up a digital bank. Um, and, one of the things that I've learned there is that a lot of work is done in the background, lots of work. And if you don't do the work in the background before you move to the foreground to get it out there, you will not be able to achieve the maximum benefit. And therefore, a lot of work I know is being done, or at least in setting up the infrastructure and the necessary pre-work in digitization. So up to when I left, I mean, we were fairly comfortable. We were not funding all the projects of digitization. We were funding certain aspects. And yes, we were satisfied that enough brain power, enough analysis was being done. I think what you will be seeing very soon, I know there are a number of projects that the minister was working on, and those projects are expected to come to fruition very soon.
What about what,
Very
sir?
soon, very soon is a very vague term in a Trinidad and Tobago context. Very soon could be a decade. And from historical, our history in terms of how we implement projects. And I know one of the projects connected to IDB was the Arima Smart City project, which is part of that digitization thrust, which, well, God knows where it is at this point, because there's very little public relations about the project and what the value the project brings to the community, even though I know Arima is supposed to be the guinea pig, so to speak, in terms of the rollout of the smart city concept in a Trinidad and Tobago context, and IDB is funding that. So I mean, it's all, and that launch I think was sometime in 2022. I was just looking at the online thing 900 and something days ago when Karina Coburn spoke about it, and here we are in 2024. And well, there is no smart city yet.
Well, again, Richard, and hi, good morning again. That our at the IDB we provide the funding. We provide the funding on that particular project. For example, to set up a smart city requires project design. You got to design that project in a manner. You have to go out for bids for the infrastructure to make sure that you are buying the right products to do what it is. You got to design and ensure that what exactly are you talking about a smart city that is expandable, that is going to be able to add on, that is going to fulfill the needs of the community for years to come. So 2 years, again, it's sometimes in getting things right, it requires that you do the work on the ground properly. So I know that project is advancing. I mean, of course, at the level at which I operated it, that is really up to the minister, the MPs, and the people who are actually executing the project. I can't go into any detail, but I know that was not a project that we particularly had any problems with, and the work was progressing. And as I said, I'm sure. As for the PR associated with it, that is totally outside of my forte. Again, you asked about WASA. I mean, in the case of WASA, a lot of pre-work. This loan was is 82 million out of a bigger loan of 315 million. And that loan was very close to my heart, and ensuring that we get that loan approved. Again, you cannot fix WASA. I've always said WASA is not a silver bullet fix. WASA requires designated funding so that you will be able to do a number of things. You cannot just depend on getting money every year from the budget allocation. Because as you fix one pipe, you need a pressure management system, you need leak management, you need demand management, etc. So you are seeing a lot of things happening. You need to drill new wells. You need to build infrastructure. You need to fix currently water distribution system. And you are seeing a number of those things are happening. And I think in the case of WASA, we did put out and have some money for WASA to be able to explain to the public the whole plan for water for the country. And I am sure that I am seeing some work being done by WASA, and I'm sure that based on the money that has been approved for that particular project and the contracts that were also approved, I expect that we would be getting some relief in the water, or citizens should be expecting some greater relief in the water system sometime next year. But then we are also, we are also fixing a lot of our structure. And as you said with WASA, for example, at a time when we have climate change and when we have other needs that are affecting the infrastructure of the region. I mean, when you look at what is going on now with regard to the heat in Trinidad and Tobago, think about that. The heat in Trinidad and Tobago, what happens when you have heat? When you have 30%, 35% of your water being as a result of surface water. So you have a lot of evaporation happening, right? So when we talk about climate change, it's not just simply about the heat, climate change affects all of our life. Climate change means that we have to look at the WASA infrastructure. And whilst we are fixing it for fit for purpose in the past, we have to fix it in a manner that it would be resilient to climate change activities going forward.
How successful are we at looking at those kind of gaps in our country in particular? Do you get a sense that we have that sort of assessment going on? Because it seems, well, it is not seems, we are coming from behind the curve in many of these issues. Digitalization will be behind the curve. Water administration after administration behind the curve. Economic diversification behind the curve. So I'm sure there has been some assessment overall, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, in terms of our development strategy gaps. Has that sort of assessment been done in the country?
Well, I mean, yes, I think, the truth of the matter is, as a developing country, one of the difference between developed and developing country is that we have scarce resources, right? As a country, there are lots of demands, but there's not enough, and therefore choices need to be made. When you have scarce resources, just like an individual, you can't satisfy all of them. You have to prioritize them, and you have to then spend money in a manner that is in keeping with that priority. It would have been nice if we could have gotten the money and addressed the water situation in Trinidad and Tobago a long time ago. And that is also, that pains me, the water in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a situation that it could be fixed. It should have been fixed. And we are on a path eventually to having it fixed. Because we are putting designated resources.
Oh, did we lose him there?
Talking about
digitization.
Okay.
Oh,
now, in the case of digitization, again, I mean, Trinidad and Tobago was one of the first countries in the region that set up a designated ministry of digitization to put the countries on a holistic path in that regard. Should we be moving faster? Yes, of course, we could always move faster. Do we have, or sometimes, all the resources and all the money that is needed to do everything that we want? In some cases, that's not happening because we have other priorities to see about. But there is always, I agree, room for improvement.
You spoke about scarce resources a while ago, and yes, that's true with developing countries. We are in a place now where, as a country, we have reduced revenue in our main breadbasket, gas and oil, than we had 15 years ago. Do you get a sense that as a country we've acknowledged that? I know the government knows it because they have to deal with the allocation of resources every budget cycle. But do you get a sense that that has been translated successfully to the country, and the kinds of adjustments that we should make and that we know we have to make have been translated? Because I know everything is political at some sense, because depending on what part of the political cycle you're in, we're in an election cycle now. It may be difficult for any sitting government to make the kind of changes and adjustments that need to be made in relation to where we are revenue-wise. Do you think that's been successfully translated where we are? In other words, I don't know if the word is poorer, but we certainly have diminished revenue compared to 15 years ago.
Well, one thing I could agree with you is that, yes, I think we do have diminution rate. We are operating in an international, an open economy that is our major commodity, our major income is subject to world prices. And therefore, from time to time, that price will move. We are also have, again, it's a scarce resource. That resource has been reducing. And therefore, we have production. So we have a production problem, we have a price problem, resulting in reduced revenue. I have mixed views on whether or not we are communicating it or not. I think if you ask any Trinidadian, do you think that they're needed for adjustments? Do you think that there are better needs for efficiency, and are there needs for us to tighten our belt? I think most Trinidadians will say, yes, I agree, I think so. However, when it comes
I don't know who you're asking. If I ask that question to Trinidadians, they will tell you the wealth gap is widening, and some do have that, and I suffering more. I think that's the response you get.
I think though, so you'll get varied answers. I mean, depending on who you ask, but you're also saying what you also mentioned is also correct. What I have found is when it comes to asking, are you prepared to carry the burden or some of the burden of that adjustment? Well, most people say, listen to me. There are lots of other areas that I think you need to tighten. And when you fix those areas, then come to me. All right. So I'm not sure that there is a full realization that, listen, at the end of the day, this wheel of adjustment needs to start somewhere. And the truth of the matter is we are indeed a poorer country, and some of the levels of expenditure that we have enjoyed over the years, we need to make some downward adjustments. I totally agree. I mean, our subsidy programs, for example, I think some of our subsidy programs need to be restructured. I am one for ensuring that all who needs subsidies, that they are afforded to. I believe that the income levels in the country, the level of the vision of income is also getting wider. And therefore, there are lots of subsidies, indirect subsidies that are given today to the wealthy that we need to reduce. And we need to realign our programs so that we are better able to ensure that the people who need help gets help and gets help in even greater numbers, and the people who don't need are reduced. However, how we go about that, I think our tax system, we lose too much money it has been estimated about somewhere between $5 to $10 billion is lost still in Trinidad and Tobago via a tax system that is too porous. And therefore, you have great difficulty in asking someone to take adjustments or to make adjustments when the efficiency of our tax system is not working. So I think we need to get that right.
Yeah. As you raise the issue of subsidy, you would have spent time as a Minister of Public Utilities. Last week, we would have interviewed the head of the Energy Chamber, Dr. Dax Driver, concerning a comment that he had made, that he cleared up, in terms of removing the subsidy for certain levels of people in the for electricity rates. I think he said for people using 2,000 kilowatts and more per cycle. I think he also quoted a figure of about 84,000 residents who would not be a beneficiary of that particular subsidy anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I totally agree with that. Let me say that. I think, for example, let me give you some statistics as I recall. They might have changed now, but on that particular topic, we in Trinidad there are about 420,000 consumers of electricity, right? About 260 to 300 of that amount, probably about 60% of the people who are using electricity in Trinidad and Tobago, bills are below $300 a month, a quarter. $300. So there are lots of people in Trinidad and Tobago, who get a subsidy and who actually who manage their electricity or do not have the types of equipment that pulls a lot of electricity. So when you look at the amount of money that we get that is given out for electricity in the residential sector, it just means about 10% of the people whose bills are in the capacity of $30,000 and $40,000. They are the ones who could afford, right? And they represent about 70 to 80% of the revenue that comes from electricity in the consumer. And a lot of them could afford, and they don't need a subsidy. So you have close to 260 to 270 people in Trinidad and Tobago whose bills are below $300. Yet still you have people with bills at $30,000 and $40,000 and $45,000. So when you're giving cheap gas to give everyone cheap electricity, you clearly need to manage that distribution. Continue to ensure that some people need cheap electricity, and I am not advocating for those people to have to pay more. But I also believe that the subsidies that is also passed on to everyone, for the individuals who could pay a lot more, the rich people, that they should have to pay. And then we have to take that money and pass it on to other areas in the economy that needs that type of money. We talk about crime. Crime is on the lips of everyone in Trinidad and Tobago. But when you go to the allocations in some of these secondary schools, these poor challenged secondary schools, there are lots of money needed in those areas. The youth programs, we need to have more. We are doing a lot. Fantastic work being done with MyLAC, MyCap, and all of these programs, agriculture initiatives being done with Foster Cummings. However, we need to put more funding to get those people and those young people employed, right? And support programs like that, especially in some of our challenge areas. So there's a reallocation that is required.
You mentioned a while ago the wealth distribution and the issue of the percentage of persons who are benefiting from these subsidies, and also the tax collection shortcomings, and the population being asked. You said if you ask the average person to tighten their belt, they will say yes, which I disagree with, because they will say, well, the people at the lower end of the socioeconomic bracket have already been bearing the brunt of it, while they're seeing in the newspapers businessmen not paying millions and billions of dollars in taxes and benefiting from the subsidies and getting exorbitant amount of forex to do what they want and ship out to the country. And it's always seemed this disparity of the burden being shifted to the persons in the lower socioeconomic bracket. So when people hear that, they say, how much more do you want us to take?
Which is a point connected to the whole conversation that you're having about adjustment and whether the society is aware that the country has less. I don't think there is any Trinidadian or Tobagonian that is not aware that the country has less. The economy has been, stagnant for the last decade. It's almost like a decade lost in terms of any substantial growth.
wages have basically not moved, or they're moving, what, 2%, 3%, 4%, and there's always a backlog of wages. People are aware of the costs that they have to pay, and aware of the problems in the society. So when you all were having that discussion about whether the country is aware of the adjustment needs, I think we dumb down the public as if they are not aware. Of course they're aware, because they are feeling it. They are feeling it across all sections. You are feeling it, even the business class.
But I think, but the point that you make there, and I agree with you, and you are, I think the population to some extent understands that we are poorer. When it comes to the level of distribution of that adjustment that is required, I agree. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done. I think the Revenue Authority is a step in the right direction, right, in us tightening, and I'm glad to see that we are moving forward with it, all right, because countries who have instituted revenues authorities have seen 50, 60, Jamaica, you go to Jamaica, you go to Kenya, you go to countries in South America, everywhere in the world where it has been put in place and properly managed, we have seen substantial increases in our revenue. And I think that's one of the first things that we need to do, because when you are asking people to make adjustments, you have to ensure as a government that you are also doing all that is required to maximize your revenue. And therefore, that Revenue Authority, it's unfortunate that it got stood up in the courts. And God knows, since 2010, we are thinking about putting this Revenue Authority in place. And I can assure you, if you look at all of the international agencies, the IMF, their agency that looks at tax leakages in a country, those reports date way back pre-2010, which motivated Mr. Manning at the time to want to do the Revenue Authority. It was recommended then. So consider a country that over the last 24 years, over the last 14 years at least, what we know, and even before that, have been losing close to $7 to $8 billion in revenue. When you multiply that by our debt, for example, as a country, total debt, you will realize that if we had a Revenue Authority in place collecting the types of correct taxation, then our debt levels will be down to minimal levels in the country. So that, to me, is important for you to be able to set the psyche of the country right in being able to pass adjustments.
But how much is that psyche affected by public perception of the decisions being made by the political class? And I'm not talking about any party in particular, but the political class generally. And what happens in Parliament, you have a lot of cynicism from citizens about how much money is wasted in terms of the management of our resources. And you could just look at that terrestrial issue with HDC, where millions of dollars are going down the drain, and they have to now rebuild it. You have so many examples of things that have happened historically. So the citizenry can be cynical about, y'all are wasting the money for which we have contributed to the tax net. So don't come to me and tell me more and more, more adjustment, more adjustment. Just shut up. I'm just thinking that's what some citizens are like. They don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear politicians anymore. They see all manner of things going up for, and the state isn't talking about a couple $1 million. It talks about tens of millions of dollars. We're doing this, hundreds of millions of dollars, and people are saying, yeah, and I'm struggling to pay my rent because a simple thing of landlord-tenant law that modernizes the relationship between landlords and tenants, which affects me on the ground, nobody's in Parliament is interested in dealing with it. But you want us now to say, yeah, take adjustments, but you're not talking to my landlord and saying the crap that you're doing, or the landlord saying the crap that my tenant's doing. I'm struggling on the ground, but yeah, take more adjustment. There is a disconnect.
Well, you mentioned the terrestrial issue at the side. I saw it at the paper since I was there. I mean, again, from what I read also, I'm not sure that will result in much cost loss being, because I'm not sure how much money was actually paid or not paid. So on that particular one, I think the verdict is still out whether or not we'll actually lose the money or whether or not the contractor will be the one that will have to absorb that loss. But I think the point that you made is taken, and I agree with you that one of the areas that both governments, I mean, we talk about, you need the whole idea of tightening up in our execution and our efficiency and people, and that conversation with individuals. I think for sure we have seen where a number of the projects, and a number of the projects done in the past, we have seen a tightening up of that budgetary process, or the cost of those projects have come down significantly than what they used to be. But we are also seeing in the papers some of the schools and some of the wastage that still continues, and that needs to be tightened. And that credibility in being able to get our house in order, revenue collection and other areas, is what is also affecting the communication that we are also having with individuals to be able and passing laws that affect them. So, Richard, yes, there are some improvements that could be done in that particular area also.
We've also spoken in this country a while about the productivity issue, the ease of doing business. And we're at the stage now where I think the last information I have, and I could stand corrected, is we are at the stage of negative FDI, if that is correct. And we are struggling to attract the kind of investment, foreign direct investment, to, in some instances, in addition to loan arrangements, finance development projects. Why is that?
Well, the truth of the matter is like I say that analysis is a little bit like West Indies cricket. It's not that West Indies cricket has actually gotten worse, I mean, we could say that the people, but the others have studied us and they are better, and we have not moved to the levels that they have moved to. All right, so they have improved, and when you are looking at foreign direct investment coming into your country, you are also competing with the world. You're competing with all the countries in the world, and you have to ensure that there's a holistic approach to investment. There's taxation, there's tax incentives, there is crime, there are
how much is the acrimonious politics of the country impacting that?
And our acrimonious politics of the country in Trinidad and Tobago is driven to a large extent by the other things that we celebrate. We are a cosmopolitan, plural society where every creed and race finds an equal place. And we are all in this together, right? But we don't get, from a political perspective, the polarization and the large groups that we have involved in that polarization. When it allows us to be, it prevents us from being able to unite and be able to make decisions that are always in the best interest of the country. So it is difficult. Trinidad and Tobago, by virtue of as I said, it is not an easy place to manage, simply because the things that we celebrate also are the things that also prevents us from getting that type of unity, right, in making the types of decisions. I always celebrate Barbados as a good example that has an excellent relationship between their unions and their governments in a tripartite arrangement. When I was in Barbados, I participated in that, and a lot of conversation and arguments happens in one room when that tripartite conversation is happening. However, when one leaves that room, there's a sort of putting country first and unity that goes out there. That is not part of the Trinidad culture.
Was a different country,
and therefore it's part of what it is we have to manage in Trinidad. And as one way we celebrate our diversity, but it is also part of what we have to deal with. And it is part of our politics. We do have a plural society and a polarized plural society.
Well, look, Mr. Lunt, I know that we may not have the time to take calls, but just to read one of the comments on the chat by DL, who is asking for magic, really. They're asking for magic. Stop corruption, wastage, and kickbacks, and the country will have more than enough money to run like a first world country.
And
Still
that's a general sentiment out there.
Yes, still tax accordingly, but make the systems work. Now, how is that to be done?
Well,
that's magic.
No, I mean, let me also say, I mean, the numbers behind that needs to be put for that for me to believe that that is entirely. I'm not entirely sure that if you just stop the corruption altogether, we will have all the money to fulfill all of the needs, because the needs of this country from an infrastructure needs they are huge. But yes, I agree that that is ideal. That is what needs to happen. But if you want to stop the corruption, you have to look and shake up the society. You have to shake up the police department, white collar crime unit. All right. You have to shake up the judiciary. You have to shake up the government. We have just put the procurement legislation. You have to shake up that. Well, and I know they are working with a fantastic head in Beverly who is working to put the infrastructure in place. So it's the fixing of it doesn't reside simply with the government. It resides with the judiciary. It resides with the police service. And you know, as we saw in our constitutional reform, it is not that easy as a government, having been there, for a government to call a police commissioner and say, listen to me, I need you to improve in white collar crime, you know, all right? Because the service commissions, those our governance structures are not there. So there are a number of things. I agree with what you're saying, Wendell, but it's a little bit of utopia to ask for it. We need to put things in place for us to get there.
You have 4 minutes, and I'm going to put you in an untenable position. You are the Minister of Finance, hypothetical, and you're presenting a budget on the 30th of the month. What are your 3 imperatives in that budget, given where we are?
Well, from my perspective, I mean, again, I am a Minister of Finance and I'm presenting the budget, and you're taking away the fact that I am not in an election year, right? Because I am not. This is.
No, you are in an election year.
Yeah, this is the last
election year.
This is the last election
year.
Yeah,
this is not an election year.
Well, you know, I think I am glad to see that there's a tightening up of the revenue stream that I think we need to do. All right. So I think we need to look at putting implementing the all aspects of the revenue authority. And I think we also need to look critically at some areas as to how are we going to get a little bit more revenue, because our revenues are definitely going to be down. So that is one particular area. I think we need to look at I think we need to look at our efficiency in the money that we spend. I will look at trying to ensure that the poor gets even more in some areas, because I think not able to pass money and support some of those areas are what is also driving our crime situation. So I am about ensuring that poor people could even continue to maintain their subsidies and even get more. As I mentioned, and I agree with that, I would look at raising and ensuring that we reduce some of the subsidies to people at the rich. I will want to put some incentives to stimulate energy efficiency and energy conservation, right? I think that that's an industry that could be developed to get jobs in the case of energy efficiency industries. And I think we need to work towards trying to make the country a little bit more energy efficient as part of the whole efficiency, so that we will be able to reduce and maximize better the natural gas that we are also out there looking at getting. Those are off the top some of the immediate things that I feel we need to look at. And I think how we distribute, as I said earlier, how we distribute our subsidy programs and how we allocate our subsidy programs. I don't think any Trinidadian will be upset if we remove some of the subsidies or indirect subsidies that are being paid by or being collected by people who already have too much. The income distribution in Trinidad and Tobago, since returning, I'm seeing that it is widening, and I'm seeing that poor people are under a lot of stress, and they know they need some assistance. I mean, and I was helping one of these schools in the Laventille area, and out of 90, 120 students applied to the school will probably get an intake of about 90, because 30 students just do not have the resources to go to school. That is a recipe for crime, you know. When you look at the infrastructure in some of these schools, right, we recognize that. Could you imagine at this time when you are feeling the heat in your air condition, and I'm talking to some air conditioned people and they're being called out because the air conditioned system they're working, but the heat is so intense out there. There are people in this school who go to school in those schools and they don't have fans in their school. So they are in a classroom without fans, minus air conditions.
They can't function effectively.
You can't function effectively. And therefore, we have to spend some money in ensuring some of these programs, some of these kids are in the school, and some of the other programs, we have to expand programs at MILAC and a lot of these youth initiatives, because they are scoring under 30% and they're finding themselves in a system that just moves them from one level to the next. Some of them should not be there. They should be in other places. Because
but that's a whole other conversation. We had to step
you are scoring.
But yeah, you're right.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Robert,
so those are some of the areas that we need to focus on in the budget so that we will be able to address some of the problems. Right? The whole life. So we could go on and we could go on.
Budget coming. We hope to have you after the budget to have a conversation. So wherever you are, we will send the link. Thank you for being with us.
All right. Okay.
No
problem.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Richard, as usual. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Wendell. Thanks, Steve. Again, it's always been a pleasure. Thanks, Trinidad and Tobago. It's always been a pleasure communicating with you guys. You all are my premier people to talk to on these talk shows. I have been with you for a little while. And thanks for the opportunity for allowing me to chat and to reminisce.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you for being on. All the best to you.
Again. And happy Republic Day, Trinidad and Tobago.
Happy Republic Day, everyone.
Yes, Republic Day tomorrow, so have a fantastic day. Whatever you do, remember that theater is on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. That's Extravagant News. Brand new comedy at Queen's Hall, Saturday at 8:30, Sunday at 6:30. The Queen's Hall box office opens from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. And of course, tickets available at all the usual outlets. Check RSR Productions Theatre on social media for more information.
Richard, you in Arima? Is that thunder? You hearing thunder rolling out there?
No.
Loud. Anyway, folks, remember to let go and let God. Is thunder rolling outside there?
Check your ears. All right, folks, let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. The very cold Avis and Hillbab is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
And it's time for your news update to 8 o'clock. I'm Avril St-Hillbab. Good morning. Former Executive Director of the IDB, Robert Lunt, says that the IDB was very important in ensuring the government received money for certain important projects. He told the Power Breakfast Show this morning that the Ministry of Digitalization was basically set up using funds from the IDB. For a long while, just setting up the ministry was dependent on a grant from the IDB, things like staff and setting up the necessary infrastructure, etc., to put the country on a holistic path as far as that's concerned. He said that while the IDB did not fund the setup of the entire ministry, it was responsible for various projects within the ministry setup. He said the IDB also provided money to the Water and Sewage Authority. He said that $83 million out of a bigger loan of over $300 million was also provided by the IDB for necessary work to be conducted at the utility. He also revealed that a grant was provided to the authority to educate customers on various projects it had in the works. He predicted that customers should be receiving some relief in water woes sometime next year. Today, the population will find out from the Minister of Finance, Com Imber, the new deadline date for the payment of the property tax. September 30th this year is the original deadline date for the tax to be paid. However, last week, Friday, Parliament was told by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley that government has considered and approved an extension to the deadline date for payment of the property tax. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is in line to receive and operationalize 3,000 body cameras for police officers. In recent weeks, Director of the Police Complaints Authority, David West, indicated that the PCA has never received any body cam footage in relation to police-involved deaths. There have been 41 fatal police shootings already recorded for this year, and there have been a reported resistance by officers to wearing the cameras. At this time, 1,120 police officers have been provided with body cams to wear on the job, but they have not been fully utilized as required. And yet another murder in Tobago as 24-year-old Nicholas Mitchell became the 24th person to be murdered on the island this year. This was the second murder in the village of Argyle in less than 48 hours. According to police reports, at around 2 a.m. yesterday, Anne-Marie Mitchell was at home when she heard 2 gunshots and heard her son, Nicholas, a 32-year-old laborer, yell out. He had been shot several times and died minutes later. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news in full at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty. It is 6 minutes after. Demming.
Hi, morning, Steve. You're stuck with me this morning.
Yeah, I realize Dennise is not there. We got Sunity, long time Sunity. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
All is well
Thank
with
you
you.
so much.
Happy Republic Day.
Thank
you.
you.
You too. And to all your
Thank you.
audience as well.
Let's get a good morning to all Power 102 listeners at home and abroad. I'm Kimiko Scott, and it's my pleasure to engage in today's Power Conversation, having been invited by your usual host, Mrs. Dennise Demming. Just a reminder that the numbers to connect with us here are 222-TALK, that's 222-8255 in the US and Canada, toll free 866-527-1099, and on WhatsApp 868-318-1021. That's 868-318-1021. My guest this morning for your Power Conversation is Mrs. Sunity Maraj Best, Independent Senator, the Managing Director of the Lloyd Best Institute of the Caribbean, as well as editor for the Trinidad and Tobago Review. She's a media consultant, journalism lecturer with 40 years experience in newsrooms across 4 newspapers and 4 television stations. Thank you so much, Mrs. Maraj, for speaking with me this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. With all those accolades and those titles to your name, how do you perhaps describe yourself?
As a I think I'm essentially a curious person.
Right.
Really, I'm fascinated with life and the world and the human condition, and as such, you're just like a child walking through your years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, observing, forever fascinated. Always learning. That's how I would describe myself.
And I think that also provides a certain amount of longevity to your career and your life. Being curious kind of keeps you active and learning all the time. Do you think so?
Yes. The bio you read there is about 5 years old. So the TNT review is no longer being published. It's we've gone totally digital in other forms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a lecturer in journalism anymore. That was a period of time. So I'm just doing other things now.
And it's a year anniversary this month since you were appointed as an independent senator. Do you remember your process for deciding to accept the appointment?
Yes, I am. It came out of the blue, really.
Mm-hmm.
The invitation to to join the Senate from the president's office, and it came at a time when I had just decided that there was a fork in the road and which one I would choose, because I had been as you realize, I've been in the media and I've been into all kinds of things for a long time, and really public affairs, I would call it. And I had just been toying with the idea of pursuing my personal journey in writing and traveling, and just doing that quiet work. Um, but then I looked at the state of the country and I took a decision: not yet.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do more at the Lloyd Best Institute. We need to engage more. We need to put our efforts towards making a difference. I had just made that decision, and then that call came. So it really was part of, very consistent with where I was heading,
Mm-hmm.
and so I accepted it.
Yeah, so it was a love for country and knowing that you had more work to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we all have more work to do, all of us.
Yeah, I
Um,
know that Mr. Lunt was talking in his conversation on Power 102 this morning about us all taking responsibility and knowing that it's not just the government as a
that's right.
point of blame, but us all becoming activists for what we think is needed.
Exactly.
You've been an activist for so long. Are you seeing improvements?
Yes, I think where my efforts are, it is really at the community based. And when I say community, that may be geographical, but may be interest,
Mm-hmm.
maybe young people, it may be women, it may be professionals. And I think ultimately the solution to the challenges we face is the empowerment of people from historic disempowerment. That what we have been doing for so long is observing our leaders, um, critiquing them, but
Mm-hmm.
not recognizing that we can change the leadership and the attitudes. And I'm not just talking about political and government, in every sphere, including in the home, that we can change them by us engaging them
Yeah.
and making them, pushing them towards something different. We cannot be spectators to our own demise. We cannot be spectators to our own lives. It is, we are the ones who can make the difference. So to the extent that you're seeing more and more people engaging, I think technology has enabled a lot of people to get involved. It will take time for people to grow the responsibility needed for engaging in that way. We do not have a habit, right? Our habit is really in crowds,
Right.
right? We can be invisible in a big crowd of people and not be accountable and responsible. But sooner or later, I think what we do can reshape that history as irresponsible, unresponsible, as Lloyd would put it, and becoming more responsible in the way we engage, responsible for what we say, what we do, as we get more and more serious
Yeah.
about ourselves and our country.
And I'm guessing that you think that would take courage because you did a TEDx Port of Spain talk a couple of years ago where you spoke about courage and the fact that us as Caribbean people are standing on a pyramid of courage that is our legacy. Can
Yeah.
you share a bit more about that statement?
Yes, I look at our history all over the region, and we would not be where we are today if there weren't people of courage who put their lives on the line, who were identified with certain positions, who knew the consequences, who paid the price, and not just people who you might consider to be martyrs, but people who put aside their own needs to and sacrifice whatever little pleasures they may have in the interest of the next generation. Men and women who went without so their children may have,
Yeah.
families who went without so one member could become educated and go to school. Um, People who pooled together the little resources, whatever they had, in forms of communal collaborations, whether it's through the guy up, I will come and help you build and you will help me build, and we have no cash between us, but we will move forward like that. Or started their little susu when the formal systems did not even recognize them. These are people there are generations who have done those things. That is the pyramid I was speaking about. And what we have today is a consequence to a significant extent of their labors. I am not sure that we, the inheritors, have accepted that responsibility to be that person for the next generation.
Yeah.
I find that we are given to consumption as opposed to productivity, to production. We consume, we have more money and can buy more, but at the end of the day, how is that making helping the next generation? I am very disturbed by those who have, and the professional classes, the ones in whom we invested, not just we as not just the generations, but as taxpayers, who are funding, an education system, funding a health system. And I am not. Well, I know that the professional classes and the upper income groups are not putting that focus on delayed gratification in the interest of the society.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having it all in many cases. We're having it all, and individualism is rampant. I am fine. That's your problem if you are not. And so that it is an ethos that we have to question.
Yeah. And that's perhaps been promoted for a very long time. Do you think that it stemmed from our independence drive? This idea that we can stand alone, everyone is an individual and should be, or was it that the independence drive failed because its intention was to build and foster community?
Well, I'm not sure that whatever intentions there were, they were not anchored in policies.
Okay.
Right? It's one thing to talk, but walking the talk requires, let me see what are you doing. And it's not easy. The transition from a history of colonization and dependency cannot be made by talk. It is made by nurturing a culture that works against the dominant culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the dominant culture is always on the alert against change.
Yeah.
No culture changes itself. The culture is there, and it is full of defenses, and it recognizes threats, and it will destroy a threat unless you are alert enough to the nature of that culture and you plant policies almost surreptitiously that it doesn't even recognize it is under threat.
Yeah.
And by the time it recognizes it, it has changed. And I don't think we have been strategic enough about that. In any case, the dominant culture that undermines our independence is too often exploited because it always benefits the status quo. That is why it's dominant. It benefits the status quo. So the status quo has to see its own interest in the destruction of that culture. That's a very difficult thing for the status quo to see.
Yeah.
It is benefiting.
It doesn't want to. It's blind to it.
It is exploiting it to its own benefit. And when there is change, nobody in the status quo is confident that they will retain their position of power under change. So it's a dilemma. It's a challenge to the society, and it needs a conversation that helps people to understand how, to the extent to which they are pawns of a particular culture. And people are afraid of change, and this is part of the issue about courage. That you have to be prepared to walk away, to stand up, to challenge that culture, and the culture's own reflexes is to destroy you. And it doesn't destroy you in violent ways, and not at first. It destroys you first by mama guy, by laughing, by laughing,
making light of your intent.
What is she about? What is this idealistic nonsense? And so everybody laughs at that. And if you can survive those different stages, then it gets to the point where it can get very sharp against you, and dangerous. And So you have to be really prepared when you're going into a battle to change and transform a society. You cannot be naive to the nature of the task. You cannot go into it and then say later, as you lick your wounds, I didn't know it was so.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be naive. You have to understand when you're about change, you have to recognize all the traps, all the challenges.
Have a broad back.
Know that it is there's a good chance you will fail and be prepared for that.
Yeah.
As part of but you recognize that even if I can move that culture by 0.1, that makes it easier for the next person to take it on. Yeah. And you have to be satisfied with that.
Yeah. And what are you being courageous about right now in your life? Because I see you as a bit of a rebel.
I don't see myself as courageous or not courageous. I see myself as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And as I am, it is courage is just speaking your mind with civility, with respect for others, and compassion.
Yeah.
I'm not part of the crowd that is berating the public every day for everything is their fault. You know, if the children are doing good in school, it's your fault. If they turn out to be criminals, it's your fault. If you're poor, poverty is the fault of the poor. No, these are institutional problems. And every day you say, there, but for the grace of God go I. Were I born in a different place? Was I born to a different family? How would I know that I would be any different? And there should be some humility in that, understanding that we roll the dice a lot of times. Yeah. We roll, and if we have a measure of success, then what are the factors? We cannot always claim, as so many do, that it's because of you. You could be a statistic any day.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that just for many people, the courage I see in private lives, the people who have to walk with their pain and keep putting one foot in front of the other, how could I compare with that? How could my own compare with that? Yeah. So I don't think that there's lack of courage. What I do find is that the kind of democracy works with informed public opinion. It is public opinion that pushes and changes situation, because that's what we operate in a governance system that is elected. That is, and I don't blame the politicians when we elect them. We are the ones who elect them. Nobody puts themselves in office, at least not in elected office. So we have to critique when we are upset about whichever administration. We have to ask ourselves the hard questions. What are we doing to make our governments better? How are we holding them to account so that they know that they're always on probation?
Yes.
You know, and if you just say, no, boss man, you're doing well all the time, we tell you every day, you are the greatest thing ever, are we surprised that they take us over the edge? They take you over the edge. Yeah. And so I see there is a lack of courage, and I think the space for independent thought and expression, I see it shrinking. And it's not just because it's not necessary to do with oppressive leadership or oppressive governance, though there is always that in Trinidad.
Yes.
But I think a new factor has been added, which is social media, the bullying and cyberbullying that comes. Mm-hmm. And many people are but of course, understandably, scared that if they speak their mind, they're going to be hounded off. Mm-hmm. And so they stay silent and they try to blend in with the crowd and they go for the likes. It's a very destructive form, a very destructive thing used in that way. And I'm all in favor of more work to be done, starting with children, on expression on social media.
Yes.
You know, to build a generation that does not exercise the equivalent of stamping on people, the virtual expression of destroying mm-hmm. people, of hounding people, but of engagement.
Yes. And of appreciating opinions.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of work. You can't do that when people are adults.
Yes.
You know, the time to learn is when you are as young as you can. And I have a great, I'm persuaded that the place to really put investment in and change, cultural change, is at early childhood education.
Yes. So you're
Level.
talking from the age of 5.
Well, 3, because
Right.
we are
Yes.
very lucky to have a significant network of early childhood. And you can't, we do have problems of families, communities, but when did we ever not have problems with families?
Yeah.
You know, there's significant proportion of our society that was single families, single parent families, from and single and women in particular. Forever, that is the whole nature of our history. Families that were broken up and separated and sold, and that has been our history. So to talk now as though that is some bad new thing, it has always been like that. But what they had and what they didn't have it, but they created it, was community.
Community, a
So
tribe.
that it was really a village.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of policies that have been implemented in the name of progress has been completely innocent and unaware of the value of communities that those policies were destroying.
Yes.
Including housing policy, including employment opportunities, education. We could have chosen more community schools, but we chose large grand schools when we had the opportunity in the late 60s, 70s, and 70s. We chose a lot of centralization. We have not deployed our resources inside of communities on small scales, close to people. So you have those policies, centralization, which is big with governments. They love everything,
In
one
one
person in
location.
charge, top down. That is our history, and we have not broken from it.
Yes.
Just the other day, I was shocked that we are building a new ministry of our new building, big building for the Ministry of Social Development. When I would think we should build those ministries
In each community.
outreach in the communities close to people. People are intimidated by the bureaucracy. They don't know anybody, and they pass around to everybody. Do you know somebody who can help me? Do you know? Do you know? Because those things facilitate the contact system as opposed
Yes.
to closeness to people. So the policies of centralization, never mind the talk about decentralization, are very much they are playing a significant role in the destruction of communities.
Yes.
It's not just the gangs, it is public policy.
Yeah. Again, everyone, we're on Power Conversations here on Power 102, and I'm speaking to Sunity Maraj, and switching gears a little bit just to ask you to share with listeners the work of the Lloyd Best Institute of the Caribbean. What do you all do?
We do anything that we feel needs to be done. Honestly,
and that's great to have your organization that can do that.
Gift.
Yes.
That is such a gift that Lloyd Best has left this country and left us.
Yes.
We have a place, we have facilities, and it's an absolutely independent space. We can entertain anybody and any ideas in that space. And we can open it up to anyone who needs a space for that. So we have we have classes sometimes. We are one of the institutions with which we are part of, having founded it, is the Caribbean Yard Campus, which Caribbean Yard Campus does a lot of indigenous education, teaching. We have courses like Sweet Broom Bitter Bush, which is about the natural plant life, medicinal plants, nutritional value, and so on. So people join those classes, and half a part of it is partly remote, partly in person, where you actually go out a lot. It's very experiential. It has the only program that is certified in masquerade design and performance.
Nice.
Where students come and they create. That's a long program, almost a year, where you create your costumes. You learn the history of carnival and mask making. You're introduced to all the elders, and you create your costume. You go into the carnival. You're evaluated, and you get an accreditation certificate from NTA, a CVQ that allows you to, to actually go and work in places in Europe and so on. You need a CVQ certificate for that. We do things that teach, organic farming, and the impact on the human body and all these things. So we do a lot of programs. We have just started promoting the new semester, and it's about to get going.
Patois class this year?
Yeah, we have if you go to Caribbean Yard Campus website, people will see the programs and the cost.
Yes.
So we have also, of course, we have continuous discussions. We have art exhibitions. We will probably have something on the budget. We have reading books. We have right now we're in the process of digitizing all the 30 years of the Trinidad and Tobago Review and Lloyd's work.
Yeah.
We want to protect those things, as you can imagine. And we open it up to people, like young people who want to come and have conversations. They have no place really. We know the community spaces are very few and far between. And so people want to do things, they come and they ask us, and we say, sure, come along. And we have very reasonable arrangements with them. Anything you wake up on any day, if I wake up tomorrow or the managing director woke up and said, what we need to do, like I think we are going to embark very soon on some fundraising for a school that we've adopted in Haiti.
Nice.
That school was burnt down, and they're now trying to get the students back in school, but they need everything. They need furniture, they need books, they need to pay teachers. And so we've committed to a fundraising effort that we will do. Several performers and so on will come together. We'll put on an event and we will send them that money.
Yes.
You name it, anything that we think that is in the interest of the country, we have that freedom.
Yes, and that of course is the gift that Lloyd Best, your husband, left you to manage.
But he left it. He wasn't sure what anybody was going to do about it. Lloyd used to say that he's lived his life, and if his work meant anything to future generations, it will continue, and if it didn't, it would not continue. And he was happy with whatever, but he was happy to do the things he wanted to do, whether it would be picked up by anybody. He did not tie anybody to his legacy to say, you have to do this, you have to do that. We operated on the basis of, the individual's right to pursue the lives they want, But it has gone on, and it is, I think he would be very happy about it. It's been how many years? About 17, going to 18 years or so since he passed. Yeah. And hopefully it will, we protect that space, we protect it from any incursions of fixed ideology. The only ideology we have is love of Caribbean.
Yes.
We are unapologetically on the side of Caribbean integration. We believe that is how we can unlock the power of the Caribbean. We understand that division is our history, and that is what keeps us weak.
Yeah.
When we are all in a silo, it is a division within our own society and division at the regional level. And I am fond of saying that the most radical force in the Caribbean is unity.
Yes.
And the minute people start to come together, people are looking to destroy that, because that is what keeps the status quo, divide and rule. That is our history. So anything that embraces the Caribbean and brings it together, we are right there.
Excellent. And I was mentioning to your brother-in-law, Mr. Earl Best, that I was recently helping tutor a class, and they actually had to quote Lloyd Best in one of their articles that they were reviewing. And the article mentions that what we are trying to encompass is the scheme. In the scheme is the cultural, social, political, and economic foundation of the sugar plantation variant of the colonial mind. Can you explore that statement just a bit and share perhaps what are some of the recurring themes in Lloyd Best's work?
Well, the sugar plantation is really about extraction of value and export of it to build other places. Right. And that we stay at that foundational stage of we have the raw material, but the value add does not belong to us.
Right.
And so I find one of the really interesting observations, Lloyd's observations, is that the Caribbean was an economy before it was a society. It was created, the modern Caribbean, I'm not talking about the indigenous period, was created by the people who came to extract and enrich
themselves,
and which helped finance the Industrial Revolution, right? And exploitation of labor, complete exploitation, zero. And then we were left when that period was, when the value of it was squeezed out, when they had to start to pay people for their labor, and so on, and even as little as it was, then we were left to figure out, well, having been brought here, what are we going to do with that?
Yes.
And having had since then to create a society from fragments of accidents.
Yeah.
And so it was most in any other in civilization builds a society out of which an economy comes, because then people start to trade, they start to do things. That is a normal way. They start with people first.
Yes.
And they build relationships, and these relationships require, and they have needs, and it requires them to start to engage and create an economy and expand it and so on. We were the opposite. We were upside down. We were an economy, and then we were left to try to figure out, and we're still trying to figure it out.
Society, yeah.
We're still trying to figure it out. And so the plantation theory is really not about sugar.
Yes.
It is about a structure, and a structure that lives on to today, of divide and rule, of a devaluation of the inherent value of people, a lack of value in the creative imagination. We were brought here for our physical labor, not for our intelligence.
Mind.
And so I've always referred to our intelligence as the zero-rated imagination. So for so long, that has been discounted. It still is discounted. Well, that's the story of pan, right?
Yeah.
Still, where is the value of the steel pan being returned to people who create it, who play it, and all of those things? Where is the value? If you're not careful, the value of the steel pan will be appropriated as we are coming into recognition and to all that push behind it by a few business people.
Yeah.
Right? I see it's already there. The template is being laid down, and we and the excuse me, the descendants of the children and the communities that put in the work and took the pressure are going to be asked to be minstrels to the art form.
Yes, yes.
So those are the things that you see. Another thing about the plantation economy is that it has laid down a path for the business community in particular of non-innovation, right? So you will toil an acreage and until it's exhausted, and instead of figuring how you're going to make it more fertile, you just move on to another plot.
Another plot,
and you exhaust that. It's just constant extraction. So, and yet today when we look for innovation, we're always looking for innovation from the business class. When the innovation were the people who had nothing and had to invent all the time to survive. Right? So we have a history that is very skewed, but so much work has gone on in understanding our history, and that work is packed up.
Yes.
It's incredible that people, that people refer to Lloyd's work, but when you think about how much work has gone on, and the University of the West Indies it stopped after time of doing Caribbean economic problems. That was a core course. We are not, we may be similar to other societies and economies, but we are not exactly like them.
Yes.
And the plantation economy theory of society gives us a more aligned interpretation, a more specific interpretation of our society.
Yes.
But people, there's a fondness for wanting to be part of something big. So, when there's liberal economics, we want to be there. If it's socialist economics, we want to be there. But these are things that come out of particular societies that may be helpful but are not precisely tuned.
They don't have our history. They don't have our
Right?
experience.
Exactly. And so it's also the plantation theory is a theory about the society and economy that comes out of the unique history. It is a history that it gave rise to it, and it allows you, therefore, the more accurate theory is the more precise you can be in the diagnosis and prescription.
Yes.
And you need that accuracy to be able to achieve. So when you invest in change, you're being very precise about what is your point of intervention.
The difference between going to a specialist doctor,
that's right,
to get a test done, or having that specialized knowledge of yourself versus a general practitioner who's searching for answers.
Yes, and one of the things that militates against it is against that interpretation of our own society is the legacy of refusal to confront our own history.
Yes.
Now, I understand why that is so. Any minority group that has to survive by controlling a majority group and then have to make peace with that in their own interest really wants to wipe your memory. Because you will not, the minute that you are not under control and you are the majority, you'll turn on them because of the things that have happened to you. So how do you manage that? What that bridge has to be one to what I call, it has to be one built on engineered amnesia. And engineered amnesia, in other words, it's not, it's always said, oh, we are 9-day wonder people, we forget all the time, we don't want to remember.
No,
and all
but we
these
forget
things.
on purpose.
I think
it's
that's
easier.
a programming. I think that is a programming that comes through the education system and through popular ideas that people are always telling you, forget those, why are you going back to that? There's all this slavery nonsense, all that kind of, No, you're not going to, you have to, and so nobody wants to build policy on the basis of understanding history and culture. And everybody knows culture is a thing that kill Kitty's policy, right? They say culture eats policy for lunch, right? Right? They say that, and that is true. But culture is very much a thing that you could only understand culture in the context of history. So if you don't want to confront history, you're never going to be able to deal with culture.
And cultural change is really something that we have to attack head on in Trinidad and Tobago.
Because it's about, Mali is so correct, it's about emancipating ourselves from mental slavery. We are not under physical slavery anymore, but it is in here. And that is the success of the colonization project.
Yes. That still
that
lives
we
on
are
today.
willingly and willfully going along with it.
Yes.
Nobody has to force us.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about Lloyd Best's work being rooted in the Caribbean, being rooted in helping define us, and really looking at our historical context. And you also mentioned that he didn't particularly have much interest in what his legacy might be. He was leaving it. He felt he was doing the best he could, and leaving a foundation for others to build upon. But do you have any personal desires for his legacy?
For his legacy, no.
Yeah.
I don't, Lloyd, that would be disrespectful to Lloyd. Lloyd was a person who's very happy to let history decide.
Okay.
And I have my life to live. I'm very happy to let history hold me to account. I think he would ask me if I were propping up his legacy. He would want to know, what is that about? What is that about?
Right.
What is it you're doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, because this is a remarkable thing about Lloyd, that he never tied himself to the outcomes of his life's work. And I find that and that freed him from despair that a lot of people have when they've lived their life and they've put so much effort into something, and they come towards the end of their life and they see that it hasn't made much difference, and they really second guess the decisions they've made. And I see it with a lot of people today. A lot of people who are 70s and 80s, in their 70s and 80s, and feel that they made the wrong choice to choose us.
Yes.
That they could have been like their friends and gone abroad and be on the yacht right now and be celebrated, because we do so well when we travel. So many of our people,
yes,
because they go to societies that have structure.
Yes.
and they may be
excel.
merit-based. And so if you're doing well, you will rise.
Yes.
And we don't have a merit-based society. Ours is about contact. It's a contact system. It's about privilege.
Who
It's
knows
about
you?
who you know and those things. And you are punished if you're not with the program,
Yes.
right? And so Lloyd escaped that whole need to see his work valued in his lifetime. And I think it's because he always had the long historical view. He understood.
Yes.
And if you look at history, how many of the major achievements of people's work, we often find they are the invisible ones.
Yes.
Right? And so it happens, some other generation takes it, but if you don't do the work now, that
It won't be
generation is
there.
starting from scratch. They're
Yeah.
starting from scratch. So I am inclined to see life as a relay.
Yes.
And we do not know if we are running the first leg of the relay, the middle leg, or the last leg. But if you don't, whatever leg, not
It's
knowing what leg
important.
you're on, just
Yeah.
give it your best shot. You're condemning your children and their children to always starting from scratch.
Yes.
Right? And the person who is in the last leg, they are the ones that touch the wall and it falls down, the wall that you're trying to break down. And they
gently touch
they're
it.
very naive in thinking, oh, I did it. You didn't do it. All the
There was so
legs that
many
were run
years
by other,
before.
and that's why you have to respect history so much and respect the people. And the invisible ones, you don't know who were running those legs for you.
Yes.
But they got you to that point where you could do that.
Yeah.
And so if we were to see our lives and not tie our efforts to some outcome, but know
some
that we just
success.
are impelled to do the best we can no matter what, it could change.
And I think that's such a call for young professionals or people who are in the midst of building their career, that it may not be for you. The work, the effort, the integrity that you show right now, you may not be rich and on the yacht, as you mentioned, but doing the work should be fulfillment in itself.
Yeah, I think so. I also think that many young professionals have this idea that the place to get change is in the electoral system, not the political system. I define politics as private initiative for public purpose. That all of us in our private lives are political because it's about change. It's about negotiating, constant negotiating for the society that you want. What I will give you this if you give me that. I will support you if you do this. I will withdraw my support if you don't do this. And that, I think, for me, the most powerful place is to be outside of the electoral system, because the electoral system is not sufficiently changed to allow you the freedom that you need to be in there to speak. So that you will see it, you see it when political parties to get together, that the one person who gets up and disagrees is shouted down.
Yes.
Right? We are all here, and it's like, it's a cult-like behavior. We have to follow the leader, and follow them straight over a cliff.
And
And
that's
going
what it
like
takes.
lemmings, right?
Yeah.
So that the idea that you have to get into electoral politics to make a difference, I think is the most powerful places outside in your
Yes.
individual capacity. When you add individuals, organize yourself, whether you are mothers, whether you are teachers, whether you're business people, organize yourself around your interests, and always understand and be clear what is your interest. Do not confuse your interests with the interests of people who are trying to get you to do what they want and who want to co-opt your voice and
Yeah.
shut you down and speak for you.
Mm-hmm.
Know your interests. I don't think we spend sufficient time thinking
Figuring
through
out what your
our
interest
interests.
is. Yeah.
Yes, because that will take us into a lot of things, into very, very, in a very granular way, into the kinds of policies that we want to see. It's always, are you for or against?
And that's the only option.
The generalization, that's right. And don't let people box you into thinking that your choice is black or white. No, create there's a world of choice for you to
There's
create.
a million shades of gray.
Right. And you don't have to be in a political party to affect change in the political environment if you organize yourself. When people want more and better, politicians will have no choice but to have to give more and better. If we settle for less, and says, okay, boss, whatever you're doing, we're good with that. Why would anybody get any better than they are?
Yes. As you say that, one of your first acts as an independent senator was to call in the Senate for the national instrument to be declared, for the steel pan to be declared a national instrument. A year later, some work has been done. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, well, my motion had two parts to it. And I have explained elsewhere that the reason that I moved that motion is I felt that a national instrument should have the happy endorsement of the entire parliament.
Right.
And as we know, in the confrontational style of politics that we have, our version of Westminster, the government comes at something, the opposition might not support, the opposition comes at something, and so on and so forth. And I felt that a member of the independent bench is well positioned to bring that idea forward. And so I brought it forward, but the government went ahead and had it declared, and that's fine. But the second part of my motion was, having declared it, for the parliament to put together a joint committee of the parliament to discuss and determine and recommend how we can give meaning to the steel pan as a national instrument. And it's not a matter of the pan playing here, there, and everywhere. It's much more than that. It is grounding that into understanding the source of inspiration and innovation that out of which a pan came. What does a panyard tell us about community organization, about learning, about discipline?
Yes.
The economies that can come out of that, and the transformation that can occur at a community level, and how do you shape policy that brings those values to transform and create value? And so that I intend to bring back that part
of
to
the
the
motion,
Senate, and
yes.
hopefully, I mean, it is an election year. You might put in a motion and it will take months to come, and before it comes, you might, the prime minister might call an election, and everything stops. But I think that is a conversation that we need to have as a country. What does it mean? What when we say the steel pan is a national instrument, how do we plumb that? Why did we do that?
Yes.
What it is that made us say there is something in this that speaks to all of us, that says something about all of us. When you extrapolate the values, you will not be raising an issue about TASA.
Yes.
Because the same instincts that went into the creation of PAN, which is an absolutely Trinidadian creation, is the same instincts that, yes, we brought TASA, but look at what we've done with TASA. We've created rhythms in the same thing that we did with all the foods and so on. We've imposed ourselves on the cultures of other people, turned it into ours. You might say one is, I totally uphold the PAN as a national instrument, but I would not overlook how we have nationalized
other
things that we have brought.
Yes.
And we should bring those things, or we shouldn't be positioning things as either or and against, but celebrate all of it, celebrate all and claim it with pride. And so the PAN tells us a lot about those who escape the education system.
Yes.
The capacity for creativity that they had, and the creativity that is drummed out of us in the academic system. That we leave our culture at the door, leave the things that inspire us at the door, come in and put you in a warehouse from early childhood until you come out of university, and then separate you from the society, put you in this little, as I say, warehouse, and then expect you to know how to fix the problems in the country.
Or then expect you to research about the society, having had no exposure to
and that's not where you research. You research from the time you are small. You tell little children to go and bring that little flower. What is it called? Let me tell you about this. We need a totally transformed education system, and it seems to be beyond the capacity of anybody who is talking about transformation. We just abandon the conversation because it's too hard. You know why it's too hard? Because you don't have the paradigm. And it's not easy to change. I understand that it's not easy to change while something is already happening. You have an education every single day, you have to, but you have to plant seeds of change, and you have to be very strategic, because you have to plant the kinds of seeds that solve simultaneous equations. It's not, and I'm really borrowing that idea from Lloyd, who always talked about it's not arithmetic, it's algebra. Right? When you touch one point here, it's like a nervous system. Sometimes you touch a nerve
on your hand, and you feel it in your leg,
and your wrist, and it feels in your foot. And you have to understand, if you're a master, you have to understand, when I touch this nerve, what is going to happen elsewhere, because I know the body, right? And that is what we don't have. We don't have that knowledge. We just feel like we'll come and build buildings. Buildings are not giving us security. Police station buildings and jails are not giving us security. The more you build doesn't give you that. More schools you build is not more education. Obviously, is more contracts. Is more construction contracts. Is what's going on, and that is it's like how we started. When the Hindus that were challenged by the fact that their children had to be converted to get into certain schools. And Badi Sagan Maraj decided, none of that. I am going to build 50 schools, and in a mass program of building schools. And they weren't building schools, is looking for spaces in community. Can I use your shed? Can I use here? Because it is not, when Lloyd built the Tap Your House, that it was to make the point, it's not the building, it's what happens inside the building. Right? Yeah. So don't confuse yourself that we have this school and we build 5 more schools and that's education. No, that's just money running the contractors. Is what are you doing inside of it?
What are you doing in the space? And I thank you so much for sharing that persons can actually reach out to the Lloyd Best Institute of the Caribbean and perhaps partner with you guys to learn indigenous skills, but also to partner, to have access to the space. Can you give our listeners just how to get in touch with the Lloyd Best Institute?
Yes, our phone number is 663-5463. And you can always go to, I think it's the Lloyd Best Institute at gmail.com. Is it .com? Yes, gmail.com, of course. You can write us there.
Yes.
And then our website is up, the LloydBestInstitute.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask a little lighter question as we close off. Tell us about your love for tuna puna.
Oh, well, no, tuna puna. So I was born in Balmain village in Cuba and grew up there. And the first time I came to Tuna Puna, I had no idea how to get here from Port of Spain. It was just not within my line of sight to go from Cuba to Port of Spain to work and back. We were oriented a lot towards San Fernando and Faizabad and so on, where my mother is from. And it was such a maze, And Lloyd said, it's like DC in Washington. Yes. There are roads that go so parallel to the main road, and there are roads across. I said, okay, he's a perfect grid in his mind, and he has great love for Tuna Puna. He so loved Tuna Puna. And it is a space where the cultures meet. It's East and West. Yeah. It's sugar and industrial Trinidad and commercial Trinidad. It's Indo-Afro. It's with a little mixture of everybody else. And it's got a settled quality about it. So I live on Tuna Puna Road, which is it's like the first road that was put on in Tuna Puna, and it's a nice wide road, and it's built out from there, right? But there are people who are here, and I think that is the great secret of Tuna Puna. Been here for ages. They've been here for generations. It's not a migrant town, and people, of course, will always come and so on. But you can sit here and hear anything. You could hear the Orisha drums. You can hear Exodus down the road, pan. Across the road, I have neighbors who teach pan. You can hear gospel, or you can hear all the chutney and all the Bollywood songs and the Hindu wedding and the tassa. And it's just a place, and it's just always floating in the air. It's a place, a lot of music, and a neighborliness about it.
Yes.
So I know that there's a lot of crime in Tuna Puna and some reports of gangs and so. But Tuna Puna survives because it's a genuine community.
Yeah. And I think it can serve as a beacon that we can live together and exist together.
And of course, it's intellectual antecedents.
Yes.
It's quite incredible. This is CLR James's hometown. Right? One of the MPs for this era was Larry Constantine. He was the first in 1956 election. Williams brought him, and he became Minister of Works in that first cabinet. And in fact, the house that he built is what Lloyd bought.
Nice.
Right? And so it has an intellectual flavor about the place. It's a thoughtful place, you know.
A thoughtful place, but rooted in culture as well.
That's right.
Sunity, thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. Really, really appreciate it. I think we got to speak a bit about the Lloyd Best Institute and the work that you are doing. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
No, I just would like people to just be optimistic. I wake up every day joyful, anxious to get on with, you look at the country and you look at the green and the skies and you say, God, this place is worth fighting for.
Yes. Yes, I think that's a good spot to end on. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day and happy Republic Day to you and yours.
Same to you and your audience.
Thank you so much. You guys, this has been Power Conversations here on Power 102, and you can get more information by visiting their Facebook and digital pages. It's been a pleasure.
Legislation sets the tone for how we treat each other as a society. It provides those boundaries and the expectations, and it also upholds the rights of all of the citizens.
Legislation is important for everyone in society as it sets rules and regulations that create an organized, safe, and fair environment in which everyone is equal.
They form the opinion that because you have a disability, that you are somehow unintelligent, stupid, ridiculously asinine, you name it. So legislation is quite important, and I hope that legislation is soon coming so that people with disabilities can be who they are. People first, disabilities after.